better. I don't know for a fact, but at least when I joined Discord, it didn't take a million years. I don't think I muted Miles. Did I mute you? No, I didn't. So
Nah, I was on the toilet.
all right. Yeah, see, that's. Oh, there we go. All right. Yeah, this definitely was me. All right, go ahead.
Okay, I pulled it up myself and I'm looking at it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things. I think the argument kind of just is hurting its own self because like I feel like this is like one of like the worst like options to pick to like defend Vishnu as a character.
Mhm.
Because I feel
Like,
like this is
like,
one of those.
like it's not a general defense. Like tried to use like a specific example of something to like explain it. And I don't think that was the best route to go. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, because when I'm looking at the paragraph, okay, if you go to the paragraph where it starts off with secondly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he uses the argument, yeah, well, if he helped Yaksha was to stop Kali from doing something in a different area in the same vein as they did with Manaka, well, then we have to get into an actual like cost benefit like scale. And I don't know if you could ever make the argument by his definition of anything being worse than saving Yaksha because Yaksha would be the strongest Gnostica king on the side of the good guys. So no matter which other Gnostica you, I guess, turn evil, I don't think it would ever equate to the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
No, I
don't
hear
even
you.
really agree with that statement as it is, but I'm just saying just from his like viewpoint or
Mm,
his or her viewpoint. Like it's just like I don't know if that works.
yeah. Because my general distrust from Vishnu comes. I mean, like honestly, I think this is a good narrative where a lot of characters, some of their underlying motivations are hard to discern. So like you could honestly call almost any character to some degree shady or like sus, as the kids say. But
Mm-hmm.
um Vishnu to me like it's like it's my conspiracy brain working where I'm like it's a psyop. they trying to they throw they throwing bad agendas and propaganda at Cali, and Vishnu is the machine. that's like my that's how my brain is working. So I'm like, I don't. It's not even to say Cali is clean. Cali is righteous, and everything she does is great. But I'm like, nah, y'all doing too much. Like to the point where I'm sure you guys can do things and just pin it on Callie and people wouldn't blink twice because of her role in the universe. You get what I'm saying? So like, so it's
Yeah.
like, so that's why I look at Vision like, I don't know, I don't think I trust him. I don't. But
Now I agree with this standpoint of like how do you like even if like you save Yaksha, how do you still give him the will to live and stuff like that? I think that's an actual fair argument. But
mhm,
we would know if you had the like after Rand dies, like how do you give him the will to live?
yeah,
I mean, he was willing to survive millions of years just to see his face again, and I think he has a strong understanding of like the lifespan of them, so that you could argue he would live long after. Maybe also believing that maybe another person like Rand would come along
you never know
eventually.
what type of emotions or thoughts Rand could instill into him while alive that would actually
Yeah,
give him more attachment to life. Like you could argue it the other way. Like you could. I'm not saying
yeah.
it's right, but you could do it.
Now another fair argument, I guess, is that Yaksha would also be weakened by virtue when he is around Rand, like when that timeline is matched up. And if you want to make the argument then of like, was it worth doing this during the crucial time because we assume everything is going to get solved and the time when like Rand and all these guys are alive to have a weekend Yaksha, maybe not, but we also don't know how much weaker Yaksha is because he got killed by Ashura, who's another Nastica king, who
Yeah.
which is by virtue a top dog, so we don't know like how much weaker Yaksha is to say is it worth it or not. Like I feel like it's one of the things we don't know enough of,
Mm-hmm.
so going
Corey.
back and forth is just kind of like
Yeah. Corey said, when talking about Vishnu, remember that flashback from Kali of someone telling her that the creatures of a dying universe see her as evil regardless of her regions. The same applies to Vishnu here. Regardless of his reasons, he's causing a lot of suffering to a lot of creatures. And by seeing and relating to that suffering, it's only natural that we dislike him. I think you're gonna go. I don't think you're going in that direction. By the way, with the way that paragraph started, but fair. I thought you were gonna say that maybe no matter what he does, they'll see him as virtuous. if
That's what I
sh
thought it was.
yeah, that's where the argument was going. Like, if everything, no matter what Kali does, she's seen as like chaos and bad or whatever. No matter what Vishnu does, it's seen as right and for
But
the benefit of the universe. And then I
Corey said,
always
"Fuck that."
yeah, I always think about what Kinara was saying to, like, I think it was Yama and Anata and whatnot when she took Aravata's name, where it was like the, you guys should think about like length and I guess quantity, but you never think about quality. Like, is it better to live 1,000 years of suffering or mid, I don't know, or to live 200 meaningful, fulfilling years? Like, what's more important?
Hmm.
How do you guys weigh that? That's a question that always pops into my head when do you guys come and they speak about it? Especially like based on what we read in the last chapter about maybe you can get it to go further than this many years. I'm like, interesting. Like, you guys really do look at it almost in this very cold, analytical way. You know what I'm saying? So,
Actually, now that I think about it, just that. But this is I'm not gonna say it because it would be spoilers. But I'm actually thinking there may be more things that this guy might be right about. Now that I
yeah.
just think about it, but it would be spoilerish. But I will say this like as a separate thing. Uh yeah, like I think there are like better arguments to like have. Like for me, like whenever I like talk about Vishnu, my biggest thing is always like we don't have sometimes enough proof to even argue some of the bad things that Vishnu has done is Vishnu. It
Mhm.
could have been Kali pretending to be Vishnu. I feel like that would have been an easier argument to go off of like this he may not be that bad because of like he may have been impersonated. Or like even just using specific dialogue pieces with like characters that we like with like the Kalavinka stuff to see like, well, what how does this guy actually view things like universal relationships and what does that like mean? Like what could we probably assume he's gonna do? You know, things like that rather than
Yeah.
this just seems like such an obscure random choice.
I mean, maybe there's discourse around that. Like, why didn't Vishnu intervene? That's like the inclination that I'm getting, like without any
Yeah.
context. Like, if if Vishnu was a good guy, he would have saved Yaksha. Like, I don't know. That was thing going on. So Vishnu is obviously suspicious. The story itself makes that very clear, but it's a suspicion with many vague and mysterious elements. The argument between Chandra and Agni about Vishnu is pretty interesting about this. In another hand, Vishnu is one of the most fascinating, intriguing characters that I don't know how we don't like him. I do I not do I dislike Vishnu or just not trust him? I don't know.
I don't
Actually,
care about him.
can you like someone you don't trust? I think you can actually. I actually think I do. There's people I don't trust. I'm like, I don't dislike them though. But I don't. I just it's funny because like for all you know, I come around on him. Because remember how I always thought the god of Earth Kubera was super shady, and then like
Yeah.
after that like one moment for the Nats, I was like, I understand all his prior actions. I apologize. I'm rocking with him. Like,
But I will say Kubert is a little bit different because at least we know from early on there was positive shit with him and Lee's.
yeah, true.
So we're like, so we could like try to like, okay, he might be doing fucked up shit, but we know maybe in his heart of hearts he might come around, he might do something for Lee. Vishnu, I don't know if we have like any like anchor character for us for him.
Mhm.
Like
It
it
seems
should
yeah,
probably be Shuri, but we don't know Shuri well enough yet. Still,
oddly enough, yeah. And we learned a lot more about her. I meant that the people will see Kal as evil because of her actions, regardless of her reason and intentions. Her actions lead to death, destruction, and suffering for the creatures of the universe. Vishnu is also causing suffering. Even as reason for a greater good, the creatures in the universe don't usually see it, but as readers, oh, dramatic! You talk about dramatic irony. I apologize. I got you. I'm caught up. My fault.
okay.
Because like we know because we can see it, but for other people, if Vishnu is doing stuff like that causing death and suffering, it's not put on the news, so to speak. But if Kali does, Kali at 8:30 p.m. chopped down a tree that a puppy was in and drowned in the river. You know, so I
Dang, you
get it.
saying Callie's a black woman?
Hey yo, that's that's not what I said. All right, you want to move on to Brahma?
Uh,
I know you
yeah,
don't,
let's move on,
but
bro.
but you ready? Say hi to YouTube because this will be on YouTube later as well. So this is from the same poster as the Visnu video. Um, so I'm gonna get the name. Uh, believe you, I guess dash me from 2 months ago. So this is called In Defense of Brahma. Now, this is a conversation that I have been a part of just a little bit in our little sphere over here or on the interwebs and on Twitter, where I have spoken like down on Brahma and some of Brahma's actions. You guys know how much I have flailing my arms of frustration with how she did the ancient humans and whatnot. So like I hope this one's good because I'm pretty invested. Like I've always had this weird logic and reason based understanding with Brahma and her actions, but I just don't like it personally and emotionally. That's all. I meant that.
Nah.
Yeah, Callie doesn't give a ish about what the creatures think of her. She might intentionally make her actions seem more evil since she hates the values of Vishnu that I think are good. Fair enough. What's up, Abdel? All right, let's get into this one. See what you got. So this is the follow up to my defense of Visnu. This is going to be a long one. Is it a chungy wongy? That's pretty long. It's longer than the last one, I think. But I hope you will be willing to give the creator their fair shake. Is that you? You're the creator, or you talking about Kurigam? So following my previous post, we have to start by seeing Brahma's role, the role of creator, but more simply game master. See that's moving me. Game master,
Oh my
coder,
gosh.
like hold on. Because she has ultimate control as to what the player's specs, races, environments, end goals, and everything else relating to the game that is existence. Following this, thinking what is that a GM decides is a good game. So I guess with game master they're going more the D&D route though. How am I doing? I'm good,
Seems like
Abdel.
it.
I'm good. Just chilling, man. I had a good weekend. I wanted to finish Chain Echoes yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to. I keep doing a lot of side stuff that's elongating the game, but I won't end up doing a second playthrough like I planned because I'm doing a really thorough one like game playthrough right now. So, but all right, first game balance. It's clear that the ancient human race are the victors of the past universe, the universe that we can only really speculate about. Brahma mentioned as victors, they were given the choice to claim their reward, most likely paradise, but they chose to occupy the universe of the losers. Okay. You want to chime in at all yet? Or no?
No.
Hi, I want the promotion of your channel viewers. Oh no, this is just. Wait, what?
I
It's a bot. Hey, someone who got a sword? Who got a sword? There's an infiltrator. There's someone here among us is not one of us. um,
I
another thing.
guess
Go
my
ahead.
oh, I was
No, go
gonna
ahead. Go ahead.
say I don't I don't know if I guess the concept of using paradise as the potential reward seems kind of weird because it seemed like people can get that during the time frame when they're living in the universe. So it'd be
Mhm.
weird if there's like something that you can achieve in your universe, but it's also set aside as the prize for winning it.
Yeah,
That kind of seems like weird. I don't think paradise is
I
the
actually agree with that
was
again.
the thing.
Again, based on something we learned about the Black Bear in the latest chapter. So I was like, like yeah, like for my understanding is like they could have chosen anything else and still reached that. Basically what I'm saying. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. Interesting. I think I agree with that. Okay. According to another thing worth mentioning is Vishnu said that humans were necessary for this universe. Why? Out of all the creatures, Nasikas, Asikas, and other Suras, why were humans more special than other creatures unless it wasn't because they were human, but because they were the previous victors? This led me to theorize that the victors of the previous game are not the ancient human race entitled to a form of perk in this new game. Then I realized it was their souls, or more game wise, infinite retries, as well as their designation as end goal objectives themselves. That's why Kali and Vishnu fight over them. Hold on, let me read that. Read that again. Another thing worth mentioning is that Vishnu said that ancient humans were necessary for his universe. Okay, now why? Out of all the creatures, so every race, so Nasika, Asikas, and Suras, why were humans more special than other creatures? Unless it wasn't because they were human, but because they were the victors. So basically saying it's more so because they won in the last universe, not necessarily attached to their race. Okay, this led me to theorize as victors of a previous game, but this made led me to realize as victors of a previous game are not the ancient human race entitled to a form of perk in this new game. Then I realized it was their soul. So as I guess what's being said here is more so like is just saying that like their special skill or role is that they have infinite retries because their souls get reincarnated to go through the age of ceremony, age of coming, whatever. What's it called again? The age of coming, the age of ceremony. The you know what I'm talking about
Uh,
where they get
coming
to
of
see their
age
past lives.
ceremony.
Yeah. So is that what they're saying here?
Yeah,
This sentence
he
is a
worded
little
that really,
confusing
really.
to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
worded that really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're basically saying, uh, uh, it's not like this is I get what he's saying. Like it's like saying like the ancient human race. I think as a concept isn't what makes them special, but like since they were victors, they now get the benefit of infinite retries, as you said. Like
Okay.
that's the special thing about them, which they got from being in previous. It yeah, it's kind of said like a little wordy, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Thinking about the universe in this way made it clear to why Brahma had to nerf the ancient human race because almost all the other races were inevitably doomed to never reach paradise, albeit with a few exceptions. Asikas being the managers of the server, but also players made it clear that there were numerous times they could earn then subsequently lose their rights to paradise. Nausicaa's, with how they were slow to change, would build up so much in that order to reach enlightenment, they would basically need millions to billions, trillions of years before I get that part. The Rakshasas were slightly better off, but serving underneath Nausicaa's, they weren't exactly going to end up anywhere near paradise for a long, long time. In comparison, once a human earned paradise at their death, they pretty much get sent there immediately. Do I need to review this one? I think I do. Thinking about the universe in
Uh,
this. Go ahead.
is he? I'm trying to make sure he's not conflating enlightenment and paradise, or like if he thinks they're relatively similar.
I don't think they are. I know they're different. Enlightenment and paradise aren't the same thing.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, but I'm saying them.
okay, let's read it again and discern. Let's see if we can discern this. Hold on. So thinking about the universe in this way made it clear that Brahma had to nerf the human race because the other races were inevitably doomed to never reach paradise. So let's stick with paradise.
Hmm.
Asikas being the managers of the server, but also players made it clear that numerous times they could earn the right to paradise, so that they could lose and gain it. Okay, and that's because of how slow they would change, and they'll build up so much sin that in order to reach enlightenment, they would need. This is similar to what Indra had said about Kadru, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
As an example, okay, so these billions of years
Hmm.
for it. Then Rakshas were slightly better off, but serving underneath Nausicaa's, they weren't exactly going to end up anywhere near paradise for a long, long time in comparison. Once a human earned yeah, I think they're going back and forth. Like I think they're using paradise and enlightenment as synonyms. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah,
I
it's
could be
I don't know if
wrong.
he's using them as synonyms. Wow, synonyms, Jesus,
Cinnamon.
synonyms,
Thank you for the follow.
or if he's or if he's conflating them in the sense of enlightenment is the process and paradise is the destination, which I
Mm,
still would disagree with.
no, I think you could be enlightened and still not go to paradise.
Yes, because we know enlightenment takes you to
The top.
what realm zero,
Hmm.
realm nothing. I forget what is it. It's they say above the top or at
And
the
you
top, which
and you
I think they
lose
call realm
something.
zero.
You like lose your
Yeah.
attachment to the universe or whatever. So you got to like give yourself a reason to stay. Like it's not the same thing.
Yeah. Well,
Mm,
paradise is a separate location. The only thing we really know about paradise so far is that Agni had access to paradise because he was one of the only few gods that could go there and had paradisal flare as a result, which allowed you to burn people's sin.
mm.
And I
Uh,
think paradise and sin may be connected, but I don't think enlightenment. I have to go back, but I don't think sin and enlightenment have any relationship towards each other. But in this, he's specifically talking about sin's relationship to
because
enlightenment, which
sins
I don't
would
think is
stop you
good.
from going to paradise because you're a sinner. It wouldn't stop you from going
That
to
would make
enlightenment. I
sense.
don't think a sinner. I guess I don't think it's crazy for someone who sins to be enlightened. You could be enlightened in the wrong ways, I
Yes.
suppose. You know.
Yeah, I think sinning does have a relationship with paradise, but not enlightenment, because
Mm,
it seems like even Kadru could have reached it eventually, despite the amount of sins he collected. So it would have
mm.
just taken forever that they were like, "Nah, it's probably not going to happen." But like the options seem to exist in the 0.000000 infinitely onto 1%.
Okay. Second, game engagement. Brahma told ancient human race Brilith that she was dying to think why was that as creator Brahma created the Nastikas and Rakshasas the way they were. The reason most likely being that she decided from her creations a kind of zeal for life, not to just overcome, but to gain for themselves, a desire to dominate over their opponents. And when Brahma said that she was disappointed with their creations, it wasn't because they sided with Cali. It was because of the hermetic and pacifistic lifestyle that they had chosen for themselves. That I saw this is something that I've always somewhat low key agreed with from the standpoint of like, she's like y'all really not trying to fight for your survival and dominance by like kind of like being on the offensive. It's cooked. It's cooked. Back to the drawing board. I kind of agree with this one for the most part. What do you think?
I slightly agree and disagree. I like to say it wasn't because they would cite it. You can say it might not be the full reason. It's in addition to like her not like liking or enjoying their pacifistic style, but she outright says she was mad because you also sided with Callie, and like those that side with Callie, like she hates or looks down on or whatever.
Mm,
And in that scenario, Brahma has no reason to actively lie in that situation. If she says that, that's probably very clear that that's how she feels.
yeah.
I don't know why she would say a statement like that and that would just be a lie. I don't think like what would be the point?
Mm,
There's obviously some contention with the primevals in Cali. Like I think she does actually hate him. That was also a big reason for sure.
okay. All Fizzin gods are enlightened, but only Agni can go to paradise if I remember correctly. Fizzin. Um, Chandra was enlightened, but he was worried about accumulating sins if he fought Kaju and the people of Altara died, so it's definitely possible that an enlightened being can get sins, yes. What I missed this time,
But was
you're
that
sad.
paradise or was that
I think because Chandra would be enlightened, and but he could. I think the point was that a enlightened person could get sins. I don't think that
yeah,
it's.
yeah, yeah. But I'm saying, did he not want to accumulate sin so he never cuts off his chance from paradise? Because I know a lot of gods,
Oh.
even themselves, have talked about wanting paradise because Agni is special because he has access to it. And it was even to the point where I can't remember which, I think it was when he fought Ganhava. He's like, I'll bar my own exit to paradise by accessing, was it fathomless fire, exterminating fire or something? Or something. So like even gods themselves don't have access to it, and it's a special thing. So I still think it's relatively separate,
Yeah.
if I'm not
High and
misremembering.
low are going through this Reddit thread calling defense of Brahma. We had just done one call in defense of Visnu, so we're on this one now. Indra has a lot of sins. That's why he probably abuses the enlightenment system. Fair. Chapter hurt me the most. No, I understand. I understand. Yeah, I think she uses that as an excuse to get revenge for them siding with Callie before she's still salty. Okay, fair, 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 fair. So it was equivalent of making a survival horror game, but finding out the player base had figured out how to play it like Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley. Needless to say, she was very pissed. I'm, s- I'm crying. What the examples? Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley, like they're like two potential like I'm a farmer, I'm gonna do my things on my land video games. Needless to say, she was very pissed and so created the Rakshasa Nasikas hunting dogs to increase engagement from the player base. Okay. I will say this. I do think that in a weird way, not a weird way, I think Brahma could have pride and shame in the creations, but it's not like I don't know if I kind of know if I could call it an emotional attachment more than I think it's like an just an attachment as being the creator and the creator of them, the ones who made it, where it's like if I literally am making a watch and the watch doesn't work, I'm like gonna throw it out and make a new one, start over. Like it doesn't work. Like I'm not looking at like, oh, this watch has sentimental value to me, and I really like the guy who sold me the leather for the watch strap. It's like no, fuck it. Like I just try to start over. Like that's kind of how I took it. I don't like it. You guys know I love the Age of Humans, but I understand it. I guess.
I'm gonna I'm gonna tell you why I don't agree with that sentiment, and if
Good.
that is the case, why Brahma's a moron.
Okay.
Because they're I don't think they're comparable because even in the Animal Crossing and stuff like that, I understand what they're saying, but those aren't real things. They're programs. They have a very specific function. When we're talking about the creation of life, by definition, it does follow a specific order. Like the entire point in how they operate is they grow, change, and do that you expect it. If
Mm.
not, you would just create a robot or for trillions of years for untold different universes. You should understand how any with a brain works that has like a certain level of intelligence. So if you get mad because they're not working the way you intended them to work, I'm sorry you don't understand how like what you don't comprehend what you built. And if you don't comprehend what you're built, then you're just a trash builder and you honestly suck at what you're supposed to be, which is the creation god.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me. I was
To
watching.
me, that would go more. Go on.
No, I know. I like what actually I like what you have to say there. Like it's kind of like you're at fault. You're the one who made them. You didn't understand what you were doing, what you were making. Like that's on you. Um, I guess the clapback would be like as a creator, you can realize you don't understand it and delete it and start over. I guess like I don't know if you make like AI like oh, I don't like that. Start over Skynet. I'm scared. But it reminded me of the this I can't remember what I was watching when someone was like, and they think recently anytime Hollywood like has like a hit show or something they think it's by complete accident. They have no idea how they do that because there's apparently been a very I don't know if this is true or not. I obviously don't consume all these shows, but apparently there's been a like a shit what's what I'm looking for a very frequently a season one will be really good and then the next season is absolutely completely like terrible in comparison to what they first had, where it's like that showcases that they didn't even know
Mm-hmm.
how they luckily got the ratings and watch time and stream. I don't know how streaming really measures all that stuff. It's all over the place, but how they got their success. That's kind of what that's reminding me of a little bit. Like, did she just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna make these things like, oh, it looks like it's going good, and then after that one part, like, oh, never mind, but she didn't really get it.
Yeah, like if anything, the fact that you can create something and it can, especially with their ability to reincarnate, infinitely grow and become better and better and better, that is like peak creation. That is good. But if you're mad because it's not in the way you want, then that's just dumb and you don't understand your own powers. That's why I think it has to be more, even like, even now as I'm saying this, more about the Cali stuff and they're salty, which I think would add a good, more like, I don't want to say human personality to them because they're gods, but more of like another interesting facet to her of jealousy and stuff like that. And it's the Callie stuff that made her mad. Because
Mm.
otherwise, I'm just like, I can't respect you. I don't think you're smart then.
Well, I don't. I've never necessarily looked at all the gods as necessarily dumb or smart all the time. I don't think a lot of them are smart, but I think it's one of those things. Is because so many of them have so many years of like experience and wisdom, they're going to come across as knowing what they're talking about more often than they don't. You know.
Yeah.
So
Like, this is a kind of a crude like comparison, but it would be like for me if like Agni accidentally burned someone and he's like, oh dang, I didn't know my fire could do that. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
what if
This is
from
your
that? What
domain.
if from that moment on he learns what his fire what his fire could do? That was the teaching moment. I hear you though. I hear you. Okay. Final objective completion. Oh, finally, objective completion. Through the whole series, Brahma had been shown to constantly help Yama with his work sorting out the dead. She does it to monitor and gauge Yama. But what if that wasn't her only goal? We know that Yama sees and judges lives based on humanity, but how does Brahma judge souls? If everything of what I had given is proven correct, then her role could be thought of as Valkyrie, bringing the worthy. Oh, I think of Valhalla, like Norse, of those who, yep, of those who have overcome harsh odds and persevered into Valhalla. That thinking, I believe, can be best shown through Lila as Brahma's chosen candidate. We've been back, Lost. we're we're 20 some minutes in. Okay.
This I
Well,
kind of agree with. I don't know about the Valhalla stuff, but
like
the other parts of like,
I get how they try to
yeah,
frame it. I don't think it's a great one to one comparison, but I understand the
yeah,
sentiment. Yeah.
yeah, like yeah, like Lila definitely seems to be her chosen, and I agree. I don't know if like, I don't know if she's building her Avengers.
Mhm. Okay.
She's building the team, Nick Fury style. I'm curious to see where this goes.
Yeah. And as a final aside, to explain the other aspect of Brahma's hate boner to the ancient human race, imagine playing any esports tournament game. All right, you make it to the final world's match, only one step away from winning it. You've spent numerous days, weeks, hell, years reaching this point. You've put a f ton of your life into this game for this moment. Your family's out there. The crowd is cheering for your team's victory. So much of who you are is baked into this one game, and then for some unknown reason, your final match, you get clobbered by the opposing team so hard out of nowhere, despite playing your effing heart out. You pat yourself on the back. You tried your best. Hell, you think maybe in the heat of the moment you made some really bad calls, some real bad calls, but you made it to the finals in the worlds. Who else could say that? A year after the tournament ends, an I guess an expose comes out about how that team used dev level cheats and exploits to screw you from that win and actually have been using it throughout their games throughout the whole tournament. That's what Brahma feels towards Ichimura Race, a rage that they had ruined the sanctity of her game and insulted all of the other players who played fair. I don't agree with this, but unfortunately
Okay.
by the hold on, unfortunately by the terms of agreement she had signed before the tournament began, she had to include this cheating team a spot in the next tournament. Ah, okay, I see where you're going now. Not only that, but give them a reward because they rejected the winnings due to their principles. At that point, her rage isn't just for her, but for all the other players, including who was robbed of their shot on that podium, lifting the world's cup that was supposed to be yours. That's an interesting way to put it.
See, they lost me completely in the beginning. I was like, "Where is this
You
going?"
well, not gonna lie, you had us in the first half, but then yeah,
But
I get the
I
point. I get
get
the
it.
point. I get the point. I get the point. Where it's like you have to
I think that's
reward
an.
the
I
cheater.
think
You have to reward the cheater,
yeah.
and you're mad at that because that's not how you want it to be played. I get it. I get the point.
I think that's their best comparison
Argument.
they've done so far.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Best like analogy, person, whatever, whatever. I wasn't sure this was going. It really wasn't. Especially where it's like you lost, and like sometimes you play your heart out and you get smacked in the mouth. It happens. I've lost some finals that way. I get smacked in the mouth, but yeah,
I guess the ending is the only part. I don't know if like you could say the ancient humans rejected the victories due to their principles,
principles. Yeah.
because couldn't you say they are by virtue of going to the losers, they're some sort of penance? So they would understand they did something wrong and they're trying to make up for it. So would that be as bad?
Hmm. I guess it depends on your viewpoint on how you see it. Because
Yeah, I guess. And
because
I guess that
because
wouldn't change Brahma's view either.
personally speaking, look like just completely personally speaking, yo, if you don't get caught cheating in the moment, you won. It is what it is. Maradona literally has the hand of
Yeah.
God. He handballed it into the net to beat England. I think it was England, if I remember correctly. Like, and we have footage, and they're just like, yo, it's the hand of God. Like, it is what it is sometimes. But I ultimately don't like Brahma. I still don't. This didn't change any of my sentiments or thoughts about Brahma.
At
But
all. At
yeah,
all.
but I've always kind of seen it from this kind of standpoint. Like I'm a game dev or whatever. Like I'm a coder. I'm building robots or something, and it's just like it's not working. And you kind of just reset to zero and you start over again or whatever. But this one I liked much more than the Visnu one though. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think this one's done better. And even as Corey says, like she is devil cheats herself, though why is she mad? I guess it's because she wouldn't use them. But I guess another it's one of those
Miles,
actually work well and win. Hello?
yeah,
Hello?
yeah. Go ahead. Keep going.
I was gonna say, if the ancient humans found a way to work with Callie and win, is that them using cheats or just like playing the game like just well?
That's
Like I don't
that.
know if that would be classified as cheating, you know?
Yeah. I guess. I
It's kind of
guess.
like
I
if we
guess.
were playing Smash
Yeah.
and items were on, it's like don't use items. It's like, but it's a part of the game. I feel like that's a better comparison. You know what I mean?
If you don't want them on,
Uh,
turn them off. Turn them off. Turn them off.
what is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the
How do you get a
best.
Smash ball? Because it's there. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
It's like, yeah, I mean, you guys know me. I'm trying to play, I'm trying to play tournament rules. So no items. Omega, and Battlefield only. So, but yeah, that was good. You wanna sit with me to do one more? It's not the same
Sure.
series though. It's that Slave
What
and
series
Utero
is it?
series.
Oh,
I have a
sure. That's
I have
fine.
a conversation to go through. At best, I kind of like Brahma for something different, fair, but she can't turn off Callie. I suppose that's a good point. Callie, I guess Callie just there, like,
Yeah.
where can I fuck it up? Where can I mess it up? Brahma Raw, love her passive aggressive attitude. I'm a master at the Sao Tome anything goes style. All right, you gotta run away sometimes. You know, they hit that off break fast. Break fast. All right. If no one else has any comments on that. Actually, I do want to say one more thing.
Oh, you missed Corey's comment.
Oh yeah, it used to be the analogy I was thought of more of them switching teams after Brahma paid for their training and made them big. That's a good way of looking at it. Actually, that's fair. I like that.
Hmm.
Where it's okay.
Hmm.
I can understand like maybe being slighted, but okay. Actually, my question is though, did you guys get a sense of like legitimate rage from her, or did it come across to you as literally purely cold, calculating logic and reason? Like it doesn't work. I'm gonna start over. Not that she wasn't disappointed. She said
I
that,
got
but like
I got some rage for sure.
okay, all right.
I got both. I To me, my issue with Brahma is it comes down to this: either she doesn't understand what her job is or what she can do, or she's just really vindictive and like it's just like that's the two patterns I got. Both of them suck. So
Okay. Fair enough. It was worse. It was apathy to me. I thought it was much rage as a task primeval. I like her can display. Okay. Well, those were fun. That was cool. They'll probably be up. I'll probably put one up this week and maybe one up next week. We'll see how it goes. But I do want to transition to the last thing I gotta kind of read through. I think it's a good opportunity to do it now since I'm already doing this. I did a Shinsu video asking people for their comments. I don't know how people answered, but we can just go through that and read it, and then we'll call it a stream because I do have a couple things I need to do tonight. It felt more like something she had to do for one reason or
oh
another.
yeah, power. Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Let me set it up. I'm gonna be in the dark void for a second. Just bear with it. There should be darkness behind me. And Asha, who did nothing wrong. She
I
just
just
like
have a general quick question thing to the chat. I'm curious about who everyone's favorite primeval is. If you like them, I don't like primevals to begin with, so
yeah,
but
I
I'm
don't.
curious about everybody else.
Oddly enough, mine's a Shiva.
Actually,
It's
mine would probably be Callie.
actually that's not a bad answer. Like that's my second answer probably, but I'm gonna go Shiva. Can
And
you
I don't even
guys
know if it's
can
because
you guys
it's
hear
not even
that?
like I like her. I just want to see her in the story.
Okay, fair.
I like Shiva. I like y'all are such muscle heads,
Bro,
meatheads.
bro,
Destruction go crazy. All right,
bro,
y'all got it.
bro. It's not even that. It's literally like what I said earlier, the cigar argument. I just like I'm getting him straight up. Like I don't care. I'm gonna destroy it. Whatever. Like I mean, it may not be pretty, it may not be great, but at least it's honest. It's literally the
I
sentiment that
guess.
I have. Cali though, but I feel like I've been standing Cali. You know, I'll put my cape on for Cali. I'll be fighting against the anti Cali propaganda. Fuck Visnu. I don't trust him. What am I looking for? Oh, Mew Love. What am I looking for? Just put him there in the back, or I guess behind
Yeah,
us.
as long as you don't say Brahma, I'm cool with any other choice. Honestly, if your favorite's Brahma,
I'm not even mad at Visnu,
you gotta go.
and he might be he's someone I just don't I trust the least. I don't know, man. I don't know what's good with me. Why do I not like him? Why do I look at him and I go, Weasel? He's a weasel? Remains to be seen. We destruction merchants out here. You have your chaos bitch Hakai out. I'm crying. Okay, let me just change the title and then we'll end the stream with this. I'm just gonna add
That's
this
actually
and
funny.
TOG comments. All right, it's good enough for me. Shiva, Kali, Brahma, and Vishnu for you in that order. I'm gonna go Shiva, Kali, Kali, Shiva, uh, Visnu, Brahma. I have personal beef with Brahma. It's personal. It's personal for me. All right. Say hi to YouTube. This will be on YouTube later. Greetings and salutations, everybody. Hope you're having yourself a nice day. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell down so the Ghost of the 13-month series doesn't get you and you can stay
Vishnu.
notified. Yes, the delusion stuff will be tomorrow, similar time, absolutely. So I asked you guys, I made this video a couple days ago, a few days ago, I don't remember. But all right, take care. But I asked you guys essentially what your general thoughts on Shinsu was as a power system, how you thought it was utilized. Is it already cooked? Can it get better? Can it improve? Are you somewhere in the middle? It was a conversation because one of my cousins caught up recently. He's been on a webtoon binge. He did like Noblesse, TOG, God of High School, Gosu, Unordinary, and I'm forgetting one more that everyone likes. The beginning and the end. Is that what it's called? The beginning and the end. I think it's called something like that. I don't know if you're been talking about, but oh, soul leveling, soul leveling. So he's been on a webtoon binge. I would say since like November. So we got around to this, and he was telling me like I think he told me like it's absolutely unsavable, and I was like I think Shinsu could be saved. It's not. It's actually one of the things that I think is hasn't fissured and cracked too much. But what's your general opinion of it if you want to chime in as a power magic system?
Uh, I think it's good. I think general idea is probably what most people in the chat or in the comments said. I think it's really solid. I think the
Mm-hmm.
concept is really good.
Solid, good concept. I lost it out. Did I lose it?
Something
There you go.
when the execution isn't like fully there, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of those things of like, of course, there's still times, and fuck, I think the execution has been very good looking at others, but there is one specific comment where I know more specifics about it.
Okay.
Because they're comment out. I just need more.
I hear you. All right. So let's get into this. I think Shinsu is a great power system that is a notch or two below the likes of, okay, I guess Nen. Shinsu needs to capitalize and have more diverse properties and shapes, leading to more unique abilities like Nen. Because we're seeing high rankers resulting to more beams, when the more skilled users should have more unique abilities. Another thing I dislike about Shinsu is the hard cap on regulars. Good power systems most of the time are balanced, and the lack of balance when it comes to irregulars is off putting. Instead of irregulars being superior due to skills, it's simply that their status allows them to rule, which is the point, but strictly in regards to your power system, it sucks. And that has led to the most controversial power scaling into regards to Bam, him jumping multiple tiers in the latest fight with White. I agree. I think the Shinsu I think it gives Shinsu more particular phrases uses. Um, in the irregulars' defense, even without their special privileges, they would also certainly still be far worse than anyone else in the tower, save for the top tower borns like Adori and Looselek. The irregulars not only have the most raw power at their disposal, but they're the most talented warriors in the tower. Jihad and his inhumanely strong body, Ediwan and his three Shinsu qualities, Blossom can manipulate Shinsu as naturally and breathing. I thought you were going to say the accelerate Shinsu. None of these talents seem to be granted to them by their regular status. In my opinion, I believe it's because these talents that they, it's because of these talents they were able to become irregulars in the first place. I still see why you dislike the special privilege they're granted, though. Hmm. I kind of lost track of Shinsu's power system towards the end of season 2. Fair enough. Cool in theory. Why can't Caliban power up from? Why can Caliban power from explosions? I still don't. I still don't fully understand what happened there. Which is why, like, I was wondering, is there like a, like I said, if I'm a flame user and you hit me with some fire. Is that like, like RPG? If you hit the enemy with the wrong attack, they like I gain HP instead. Like, was that the exact right combination of two Shinsu qualities that resonated with his body? I don't know. It's the only time we've ever seen something that happened. We need to see it happen again, maybe, for us to be able to kind of wrap our heads around it. So I hope it's not some weird one off. But I guess I had somebody make the argument that Liboric gamed the whole thing and did that to power him up on purpose because he's scheming something. I don't know if you believe that though, but
No,
yeah,
because he wouldn't know his attributes, right?
no idea. Plus, I guess you could. To me, him begging for his life in that moment seemed genuine. So I don't know though. So yeah, it has so many unique applications. Are you blind? Rankers use beams on top of their unique abilities because it's a staple. Why wouldn't they? But there are so many effing unique applications on Shinsu. Go and check the effing wiki or reread the manhwa. My gosh, yo, yo, spicy, yo, Chile. Um, no, there are only a few unique applications, especially considering the large number of characters we have seen and known. Why would rankers use beans when they have their superior unique shape and properties? You spent more time crying than listing some. Oh my god. Go to the wiki right now and click Shinsu and you'll realize how vast the power system is. I'm sorry, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. I don't even like drama. That was fun. I was spicy. Keep it up. Um, is there anything else I want to comment on? I want to comment on the regular thing. Do you think the fact that they have this complete system, the system that works completely differently to them than most people in the tower, is inherently a bad thing in an energy system, or do you think that he just mishandled it?
I just think he mishandled it.
That's what I was gonna say. I actually don't inherently think that's a bad thing. You're always gonna have characters in these series who are just naturally more talented or gifted, or because of their bloodline, they can use this sacred holy weapon, whatever the case is. But that doesn't necessarily have to throw the entire system into flux and chaos. So, but yeah.
Like, like the simplest thing for me, and I've said this consistently, it's just show us a little bit of their past and what their trajectory was like. Because when you don't give like, I guess, a
Starting
path or
point.
a means, and
Mm-hmm.
the audience can like understand like even like a little bit of how like this process is gonna go, then everything just seems like a fucking Deus Ex Machina. It's like I get he's an irregular, but damn, everything just works out perfectly fine. But if you showed me irregulars doing crazy shit, like Jahar and them were also like having like crazy power ups at specific moments throughout the journey, then okay, the president's at sin. That seems fine. But when we don't like have like a comparison when we know there's 13 irregulars before, it's just like a weird decision.
Yeah, I would say it'd be interesting to see how all their growth rates were in comparison to BAM because I think that will make so many things clear. There's one
Yeah,
I've said this a million times, but there's one opinion in the community that I've never fully understood. I don't know where it comes from. Whereas there's this belief that Mazzino came into the tower as strong as he is. I don't believe
yeah,
that
that
for a
makes no
second. It
sense.
doesn't make any sense to me. I wonder why. If you want to make the argument out of all the irregulars, he came in the strongest, that is not the same argument to me as him coming in with the level of power capability that he had. Who would have taught him how to use Shinsu and the inner workings of the tower and show the throw that speed of light and control and all those things? He would still have to learn those things. Even if he had like, even if it's
Especially
one of
because he
those
was a
things where
kid. He was a
where like,
literal child.
yeah, like even if it's under the circumstance, like I could use myself as an example for this. I was seen as a raw talent that you could mold to be into any player because I was so athletic and I hadn't really like played that much football in that sense. So it's like, well, we could turn him into a center back, a right back, a
Yeah,
winger, striker, whatever, right? So like I could see him coming in with a
7'9".
lot of ability,
Yeah,
but someone will still have to teach and hone that. You know what I'm saying? So
it's just weird to me because we see him on the data floor as a kid. Do we really think he hasn't gotten stronger when he became a full as adult?
no, no, man, the Kenbachi gimmick he got weaker. I don't know. I think it's okay. It could be better in my opinion. But I think it's a good power system, but not used very extensively. With Bam as a main character, it could be used so well. I think I agree with that. Actually, I'd actually about to ask that. There's a question I'm about to ask you guys. I always thought that they were more skilled than Bam. They were warriors before they came in the tower, and the data floor solidified my belief. That's fair, actually. This, oh damn it. Oh nope, nope. Up, I had it. Did it? It's gonna come back to me. It's gonna come back to me. It's gonna come back to me. Maybe not. Okay, if it comes back to me, I'll ask it again.
Was it
Uh,
about BAM or regulars?
I don't even know. I think it's a good
This
sound
is the
sensor.
comment though. I got things to say about this comment right here.
On Sunrise Sparkle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, to be
I think there's
fair,
actually some good in here.
okay. To be fair, this is one of my favorite new commenters. To be fair, I think variability in these combat methods is overrated because by the very definition in real life fighting, whether it's swords, bows, martial arts, they always follow a very specific combat methods. You don't actually try to experiment in actual combat, but you read your opponent and pick one of the tried and true tested techniques. Like how in a sword fight, you would spend most of the fight in guard position because otherwise it would be very easy for your opponent to get a strike. One can also see this with Kubera, where Curry doesn't actually use that many different attacks. They usually follow the same pattern no matter who it is. The real issue with TOG Sinshu is exactly the fact that it can do anything, and there wasn't any set hard rules on what types of fighting techniques and combat methods you can apply in a fight. So from the start, it easily devolves into power levels and throwing beams of raw power at each other. Okay, talk to
Okay.
me.
So I agree with their first half, completely disagree with their second half. So I agree with the notion, and I think this is lost on a lot of series of people. They're completely right. You're going like, and this is my thing with One Piece and stuff. When you have power systems that are like very open and there's no limit on who has access to these things, you're gonna like create things that are just very normal and easy for everybody to do. That's just how anything works in a society, right?
Mm,
You're gonna like basically simplify and simplify and simplify and simplify. So for beams to actually be a staple and used in this context is fine. It's like if we were all firebenders, us using fireballs would arguably be the most common way in which we fight, not people making fire dragons or like shapes of fire swords and stuff. It'd be like most people would just do fireballs. Like, because it's like, why would I spend the extra time and control to make this extra shape if it has no extra benefit for me in a fight? The
okay.
issue though is they're wrong with the second half because in universe Tower of God actually doesn't operate that way. Because by virtue of their shape and attribute, abilities do become stronger. So if you actually change your Shinsho into the shape that you have, if you have a sword, you using your sword would actually be less energy consuming than a beam and more powerful. And the same way as you convert it to your element, the same would be as true as well. So they're actually wrong in this because there's actually in canon universe as to why you would do anything but beams because creating your own personal style towards you based off your attribute and shape only benefits you in the long run and makes you way, way more powerful.
Well said. I like that. Um, yeah, I do want to comment on on one other thing here, but okay. No, that's it. I think what you're saying makes sense. Actually, that makes sense to me because I do
Yeah,
think though.
which I respect them for.
Yeah, yeah.
Go
So,
on.
um, the real issue with TOGs is the fact that they could do anything because I think I made the argument that I usually use Taite Kubo as an example for this. Not to say that Bankais are inherently bad or whatever, or Zanpakutos are bad, but from the get go he set two Shikai Bankai initial
Hmm.
second release, and I think that limited him in some ways. Where I've always just said with SIU making Shinsu kind of limitless, he didn't limit himself. I do think it shouldn't be able to do literally all and everything, no matter what, for every character without any drawbacks or, compromises, whatever the case is. I don't think that's the case personally, but I can see why someone has the sentiment if you don't limit it at all, it's just going to be the end all answer to all things because it could do anything. You know how like sometimes people say
Yeah,
magic. I don't got to explain shit. It's magic. And it's
yeah.
kind of like using that argument. So I actually might start amending my opinion on that because I actually agree with that. I do think no limits is not a good thing. It could have high upper
I've
limits, but
I've heard a
yeah,
good I've heard a good argument or a good style for writing when it's like if you have like soft magic where it's not really explained,
Mm.
then then conflicts can't be resolved by magic. So like it's like you can have these things that are not explainable. Magic can be wondrous, but don't let that be a way in which you resolve conflicts. It has to be something else. Otherwise, we'll just everything will just seem like bullshit and magic can do whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah, that's fair.
But that's the opposite entire of God. Like it's all done by combat. So
I like the contrast between this comment and what Kuro Arts clap back at here, where they're saying it has so many unique, like so many. Look at the list, and after here's like it's really not being used that in that many situations. Because if I'm being honest, I would argue this: we are finally starting to see more instances of different and more unique applications of Shinsu and like in using it in different ways, but it's still been far and few between, and they're really the exception and not the rule. Something as small as
yeah,
owl's horny bird turning the whole area black, so you can't use your five senses. I like that. That's dope. That's not something I had really seen before. I guess you could say white noise because white noise when it hit, but you get my point. Where it's like stuff we're starting to get stuff like that, and Hajin Sung versus I think it was actually Purdity by Colin P Diddy and Holland, I believe it was. Their fight too, you saw a little bit of strategy and technique, but that's not the rule in Tower of God. That's an exception. So I can't look at that and be like, you see, in this story, it's like that would have to be a consistent thing happening for me to be like, this is something SIU does really do. The same way I always give him credit for being able to capture scale really well by zooming out and showing you how powerful those attacks really are, or how far a punch from Calivan actually pushed Hodgin Sung backwards, even though they're standing on air. He's always been good at that, and he's done it consistently.
yes. And I don't want to like this kind of goes leaving against my point. Like again, I think Kuro might be unfortunately being like since there's just so many moves that means everything is different.
Yeah,
But I mean, if we're being realistic, a lot of characters might have different flavored moves, but they all kind of do the same shit, right? Like
it's
majority of the moves that we have is just destroy things.
yeah,
That's not really interesting. As you said, white noise is a completely different ability. It operates so vastly different from every like majority of other abilities that we've seen. Same with as you said with Puri and the horny bird, or even beastification is
Jordan had
different in a lot of ways.
like seal you in that weird forest fur thing, and then he had that like lock
Yeah.
on shot, the little lock on lethal kill shot. Like, and then I remember how I always say I like Yama's I call it Shinsu passive ability. If you feel fear towards him, like
Yes.
we're getting that. You're getting more of it. I'm not trying to knock it. Like that's why that's why like
Ignition people.
my opinion is like
Yeah.
on the up, but it's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Those are different. Ignition humans. Those are different. Bam using 5 different type of water moves. One is a water dragon. One is 3 water beams. One is 8 water beams.
One's a
That's
water
not saying.
tornado. It's the
That's
same
not
shit.
really
It's the same
you
shit.
being the.
Yeah, it's the same
Yeah,
thing.
that's not being
Yeah,
you diverse. That's not you being diverse. It's just flavor. Now,
yeah.
luckily, the flavor actually makes power stronger and different, which is a plus. I'm glad he has like in universe changing the shape and stuff and direction and how much flow or like force you put into like
How
in the
much you can
direction of Shinsu
attention?
when
How
you change the
you can
power,
pack an
which is
orb?
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
but let's be clear, it's not that much different from like other abilities. Like Bam's his main two different abilities truly is the reverse and non-reverse because those actually do different shit, and he can like pause people with fast skip and stuff. Like those are really different. But
mhm.
Bam has like 20 literal abilities with using water beams. Like
I will say that a lot of these beams are just beams with filters: purple beam, red beam, fire beam, ice beam. You know, like they're still beams though.
yeah,
But yeah. I think it's basic and boring, but it works. It's mostly just beams. Not that impressive to be honest. The system itself has a lot of potential, but the execution of the system definitely could be done better. Shout out to Scope. I'm in line with you. It's not bad. It's okay. It could be better and has been improving. Fair enough. Local BRM versus the Knack and Dorsey round two. I mean, that's not. I don't know if that answers anything, but thank you. Mario Cat says it's all right. It's fun, and there are special categories like white dwarves, red, which is anima. That one red hair dude. Thorns are cool. Sachi. Even a lighthouse and REA swords. It gets lost when it's just about beams. Okay. I think one of these are long, right? This one, no, that's my thoughts are similar to yours. It's a great system, but could be used better. I mentioned this in another video of yours, but I'd love to see SOU make use of the water aspect of Shinsu more because it's called the Wine Water. Perhaps one of the characters could use an attack using cavitation in the bubbles in battle that could fire barrages at an enemy to chip away at an opponent's defense, just as cavitation bubbles do to your bolt propellers in real life. This can also be referred to as a void quality, which I think could be pretty cool. Another might be the density of Shinsu in areas to make flying difficult there, similar to how the boats sink when passing over methane bubbles. They could also rapidly increase and decrease the Shinsu density in an area to give opponents the bends. I could see Gustang fighting in a manner like this. I like this. Perhaps a character could rapidly expel Shinju from their body when getting into a fight with a flame user, so the Shinsu heats up and it's evaporated away, but the heat reaches their body. This would create tension, as it would be a technique that couldn't be used for a long time. So you're coming up with like
Put him
different
on the
ideas.
team.
Yeah, we got me and you got to both go with the short I made. Where I said I could fix Tower God. Me and you got to get hired. You can handle the combat. I'll handle the writing. I'll handle everything else.
That's the That's the definition of different. Like those are actually good
Yeah,
ideas.
I like that. I like the void thing too. Like, and some of them, the thing
Yeah.
about it too is a lot of the stuff could be basic things that I've seen a million times. That was still like I would still like to see, because as much as I like
Yes.
Shinsu property conversion, it's just like elements like rocks and fire and yada yada. And of course, there's shape like the rock shield and whatnot. But like, if someone had an ability where it's like I can erect this like force field or area where you just can't use Shinsu here. No Shinsu allowed. Like I know Hell Joe's something similar, but my point is like just boom. You can only throw hands here. That's it. You can't use Shinsu boost,
Mm-hmm.
reinforcement, none of that. Or like, all right, well, I don't know. That one's already happening. But yeah, like it could be something. It has to be something like completely new. It could be something basic. So it's an infinite void. There you go. Dark change. So yeah. So I think what you said is like a well taken point where it's like I think you can destroy your enemy in different ways, but this is like general like basic destruction. Like I throw something with force to hit the other thing and hoping it does damage. Not even like the erasure of matter, or like dehydrating your body by
But
removing the moisture. Like there's different ways to destroy somebody, but like with the beams and whatnot, or like hard punches, it's very, very samey.
that and I think this kind of goes in my problem with most series, or like where it's like I don't like series in which like main characters have like literally like a H like move, right? Like why do you have so many fucking moves? For what reason? They all do the same thing. Like most characters in series probably only need like 4 to 5 moves, and they're honestly fine. You need some added effect, some one on ones, some pinpoint. Some you're kind of good,
You reminded me of the fact that like
and
Ichigo just
you're
has like
good.
Getsuga Tensho. Naruto has shadow
That's
clones and
all he needs.
every different type of Rasengan power. Luffy just Gomu knows something. Like it's really not wrong. In a lot of ways, like you're not wrong.
You
It is
don't
like
need
that.
them. And even Luffy has hell of attacks, but he doesn't even need all of them because like he used to do so many more. But now all he does is just pistol and bazooka, really like or Gatling. He doesn't really
Bullet
give
and
me like
pistol always
axe
killed me
or
because I'm like, I personally am a crackhead and I noticed a slight difference, I suppose. But like bullet and pistol is the same goddamn attack, bro.
yeah.
So yeah, it is what it is. But all right. I think Shinsu's a solid power system. My personal nitpick is that I'm not interested in seeing how our regulars use Shinsu. We all know they can do they can do stupid, dumb, crazy things with it. I'm more interested in the average Joe's use, like how tower residents who aren't in the 10 families. Okay, that's fair. I want to see Shinsu's so-called unlimited potential with those who have limited use with it. For instance, I'm more impressed with the Vankel showcase in the last station. The last station. Okay, fine. Then I'm with Trauma Ray in the last arc. Fair. I also want but you're the resident Vankel defender. All right, I'm on your ass. No, stop. She's trash, by the way. Also, I want the spells power system to be explored more because I think it's interesting. An interesting monkey wrench in an already power system. Yeah, I think the spells was something I've been wanting to. I think the problem with spells is as much as I want them, I just look Bam as like the ultimate spell nullifier. So I'm just like, is he just gonna invalidate any and all spells all the time? But I'm supposed to like, cause like I think Acardi, we saw like the younger Acardi with like gibberish in the data floor. I'd love to see him like summon cool weapons like that. Immaculately bullet stretches more. Actually, when the bullet stretches more and has less of the recoil when he snaps his hand back. Actually, yeah. No, it's not. If you're talking about the potential of it, sure, but you can make that case for most power systems out there. Most systems are not inherently bad or good. It's what you make of it. SIU has made a doo doo of it.
And I
Not a
and
doo
I do
doo.
want to
Not doo doo. A doo doo. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I really I think this should be like a given, but I can tell most people understand. Just because something has like a lot of rules or is complex or a lot is going on, doesn't by that virtue alone mean it's a good power system. A lot of power systems can be very simple
Simple.
and are used so much better by the author because they actually expand and know how to properly use it. It just still blows out a lot of these over the top systems. And I really wish people understand that. So I feel like certain systems where it's like not a lot's going on, it's a terrible power system because not a lot's going on. That doesn't mean it's bad. Some of them are really, really good. Like
Yeah.
Radiant to me, not a lot goes on like Radiant. Radiant Fantasia is not like a crazy system. It's kind of like low magic, but it's done very, very well. Yeah.
It's execution will always trump the concepts.
Yeah.
Because trust me, there's complex narratives that I've really liked, but sometimes the beauty's in the simplicity. You don't gotta be overly complicated. Like I said, for Dragon Ball, Key works. Key's not an overly complicated system. You could do a lot with it, but it works for that story. It's not trying to be overly complicated in that sense. You know,
Yeah.
you gotta care about. You gotta think about the narrative that you're writing too. Scope said the fact that we don't spend time with really anyone besides Bam really limits what we see with Shinsu. If we got to spend more time with other regulars as they struggle to develop and master their own unique fighting styles, it would allow the system to be better expounded on. I think I can agree with this because as much as we can still make the argument that a lot of Kun Ran's techniques like shock and are blasty. He has a variety of remember that little cloud that he had, then he had the read on pill, then he can make the lightning lance, then he you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
watching I've always said that like Bam and I guess Princess aside or whatever, ran from like a versatility was like the best combatant ready for like climbing the tower. Like he's actually showcased me a lot of different things. Plus he's a good cat in the hat combatant. And he's not like he is in a lot of ways the least intelligent Kun I would say maybe, but he's not dumb though. But he can't
How
get.
old
But
is
it's
he
I
again?
don't know. I don't know, bro. I have no idea.
I can't remember if he's in the hundreds or if he's like actually like 18.
I don't remember. Couldn't tell you. I want to see whether or not the theory that Shinsu was actually the sweat perspiration of some almighty being in the high. That would be crazy. Ew, ew. Is Shinsu God piss? I gotta know, bro. Just a crackhead theory, lol. That's just a theory, a crackhead theory. Thanks for watching. Um, I think it's amazing, but not expanded or used to its max potential. Fair enough. No, it was good in season one, but now with the beam spam has become irredeemable in your eyes. I actually like the
Irredeemable's
system.
kind
Yeah,
of crazy.
I don't think it's irredeemable personally, but I can see why I could see why someone would say that because it's just like well, a lot of people like it's like with me a lot of times, right? When someone has like a like okay, so let's take Tower God season two, which you guys know I believe the first season was horrible. But someone's like, yeah, but with season two, they'll just give me all this hopium and copium about how it's gonna be good, and I'm like, what the hell is giving you that hope? Is there somebody on that team that you're on the staff that you know that's a really good animator that wasn't there before that's there now? Was there something in a webtoon adaptation that I haven't seen that came from one of these companies that did something that I didn't know of that's actually a good adaptation? Because I'd argued all the noblest ones are bad. God of High School was bad. They're all bad. None of them are good. Like, what is giving you this hope? That's just blind optimism. That's not moving me. So I get the point. So with this person, I'll be like, what SIU been doing recently to give me any hope? I don't believe him. So it's irredeemable. I can understand that thought process. I don't agree with it though. Not for
I
Shinsu
guess that's
specifically.
fair.
So I love the theory was true. Everyone in Torga would ironically be piss wizard mages. That's kind of funny though. I actually like the system. I'm a similar boat to you. Shinsu is a very interesting concept that influences the way how people and positions overall fight, interact with the role of the tower. They added structure to Shinsu by the measurements of bangs. The Hmong serves air with the soul density and a very nice density. Wait, a very nice addition that sadly wasn't expanded much upon, especially when we hit ranker level. The system works well when it's simple, but it works best when it's used in interesting or creative ways to attain one's goal in or out of combat. Season 3 has indeed gone down in terms of creativity with a bit of research recently, but I do agree the high usage of beams and such is low effort usage of Shinsu. It also doesn't help that the art direction sometimes make said Shinsu beams and blasts a bit hard to follow on what's been going on. I've always been commenting it's been harder to watch to see what's going on clearly these days. A lot of visual noise. I think Scope said. I think you're the one that said that, Scope. Giving you credit. Not that I'm against the idea of simplistic usages, but there needs to be more creative usages in order for it to feel like Shinsu could end up feeling like a very impressive system. Shinsu is an inherently vague system, but has enough structure that its vagueness can be a benefit so long as its horizons are explored and expanded upon. With characters that use creative methods of Shinsu, it shows that Shinsu has a lot of potential while also showing that a character is unique in their abilities and how competent they are amongst other tower denizens. While over usage of beams has been a bit disappointing, SIU has been spicing it up a bit in certain areas as well. The main examples being the ones that you described in the video. Overall, I'd be hesitant to even suggest that Shinsu as a power system is going downhill, much less being a lost cause. Yeah, I agree with this for the most part. I don't think anything I disagree with. My theory is that it isn't headcanon, that it's headcanon. They believe season two of the manga was so good that they will adapt it faithfully.
That's not a reason to believe that. There's plenty because that would mean that any good work would never have a bad adaptation, which just isn't the case.
Yeah. So that's not about the source material necessarily. It's what the people interpreting it, um, I guess transmuting it into a different type of medium, and then being able to do that in a way that's meaningful. Oh, that makes sense. That's good. So I think that's what you gotta kind of ask yourself. Season one was good for what it was, not perfect, but it left some room for backstory. I think we brought up season two, like how SIU had the backstory with Arc Raptor in season three. Downhill. Well, this is the secret. This is the secret sequel video to the curious case of Clown Hellum. I like those arrows, man. Him and Soho were going crazy. 500 plus chapters, and SIU still stuck on beams. Mostly, I don't know how much that is lack of creativity or pure laziness, or just him getting too comfortable in this space. His space. It started out very interesting with the possibilities that it could have been numerous, but now Shinsu just like any other magic system. Anthony said, when you become a ranker, you climb tower. Do they keep all the base stats? Does the administrator cap them and their items so it comes down to skills activity? Is this why coming from a GF or founding or great family or founding species gives ridiculous buffs because they were born in the tower? They are severely handicapped. Hence, Quant would have taken damage from that fall when he got kunned, but Yuri would never. Yet high rankers turn puss when it comes to the floor of death, but someone like Karaka has only OP moves, so his arsenal on lower floors leaves him capped. Just a wake and bake thought before work. Mm. Did you follow that?
Uh,
That was kind of
no.
hard. That was kind of hard for me to follow, but more power to you, brother. Um, type of- I've been thinking about this for a while. Tao regards the torch for having an amazing foundation when it comes to world building. Damn it, I actually don't fully agree with that, but I kind of agree with that anyways. But the issue is that its execution doesn't always meet the expectations. With this in mind, the power system has the same issues. Okay, let's talk to me. Early on, we learned that Shinsu is a measurable atmospheric energy source. They have measurable units to explain how a bang is formed and quantified. These measurements were never brought back. A bang has been a consistent measure of Shinsu manipulation ever since the ability is measured in bangs and how much you apply the energy collected of the ability. Then we get an answer to why everyone has different abilities, but is specialized in one. With the introduction to Shinsu property conversion and shape, we now have an explanation as to why people like the Eon family have a flame attribute or the Kun with their lightning. Unfortunately, SA runs into the same issue of not fully fleshing out or setting proper boundaries. A good example is how we'll see. We'll gotta see about this. How Chakra and Naruto have set property convention and then detailed methods for how abilities are able to be used. From how Kenjutsu manipulates chakra in the brain to how certain property conversion interact with one another. Okay, I actually don't disagree with that. Ishitsu is close.
You know me. I think Naruto has is. I
Chakra
think Kishimoto.
Chakra
It's
isn't
a
inherently like an awful energy system in my opinion. I just think that he definitely somewhat to me the adding of the like, oh, you see, it was like the ice and water and wind and this and that. I still think that was something he kind of thought about later than adding three for like lava release or whatever. I'm like, I don't know if that was all planned, but it's not a bad
I
system
think it's
because
one of those
I
things.
think Nen and that use whatever same I can't remember what it's called. There's something in some one of the Japanese folklore or something traditions, but they use that model together. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, like that five, like
I
not
can't.
circle, but like
You know
I
what I'm
know what you
talking about
mean.
though. I literally don't remember what
Yeah.
it's called because I even think Allomancy took a little bit from that. But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say yeah. Of course I think he had most of the ideas down early on, but I can't remember which between him and Kishimoto which of them literally like put like brought in like their pilot or whatever they did, and then they got the show like the thing from like Viz where it's like or not Viz, I'm sorry, but Shonen Jump like, yeah, we're gonna make your thing a manga, and they like didn't like literally had no preparation, so they didn't think they would get it. I can't remember if that was them, which one of them was that, but I do think like I've said this. I talked about this in the Naruto stream we did, but Kishimoto understood his power system the best out of the big three, and I don't think it's close. I think he did the most with his the out of the big three as well.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's perfect? No. Are there
Perfect.
issues? Yes. Was like especially pertaining to things like Lucia's and like the overpowering and consistent adding of abilities? Absolutely. But from a
Mhm.
baseline of like the rules of how chakra works and how jutsus work and how these things interact with each other, is pretty like easily understandable by the audience.
I think I don't think I disagree with that. But I've never actually like Chakra was not my problem with Naruto. So like if
Yes.
that makes sense.
It was the writing.
It was other things. Did y'all know Kishimoto had a twin brother who did manga? I know he has a brother.
Yes.
I don't know he was his twin brother. He did a manga called like
Six six
Satan
six
six six
Satan.
six. There we go. Yeah. So
Or
yeah,
Opart's Hunter if you want to. Very good.
yeah.
I like that series. It's pretty good.
But no,
I think it got axed.
I didn't know
But
that was his twin brother though. I didn't know that. I didn't know that part.
yep.
So, but all right. Shinsu is closer to a soft power system. How does wait? Yeah, soft power system. How it doesn't matter. Like how Harry Potter magic can accomplish anything without some limitation. Is this is different from example where Naruto we know what it can and can't do and why it has limits. So we're talking about hard versus magic, hard versus soft, and I have a middle one. Shinsu is somewhere in the middle, and while it works, it can be done sometimes it misses its mark. We know excuse me, how form and property, excuse me, affects how people use the Shinsu. We also know genetics, lineage do play a huge part of potential and affinities, but where it fails is where it doesn't explain when it would benefit from an explanation. Okay. 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 For a world as big as the tower, it makes sense for the system would benefit from a softer system. Agreed. We don't have to know how every ability works and why certain people are to exist. The layout of the tower is an explanation. Is explanation enough. There are too many races living in separate dimensional spaces, all mixing to climb the tower. So it's okay for the abilities to be a bit random. But here's the problem: you only spend time with a select group of people and they don't interact much outside their group. We actively we are actively learning beside Bam and Co how their abilities work and why they can do what they can do. This is where a harder system should be set, where what they can do isn't fleshed out. It should be for how much they have learned and for how much we've seen from them. We call Naruto a one trick pony, but Bam uses a bunch of random abilities that tend to ignore the technique styles we've seen him use to spam beams. We don't see Hot struggling with his sword on higher floors, and Shibisu is still climbing as if he's unaffected by the density. The only characters with consistent abilities are Dorsey, Elaine, Ran, and Rack. Even Rachel have set abilities she uses faithfully. What bothers me is that we see the lethal style of this or the transcendental skill, but I can confidently say at this point they will never be seen again or be used as a legitimate part of anyone's moveset. I think that's all well said, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the mark. I never got enough of the Naruto enough to understand the magic system. Only edgy teens like Naruto melodramatic writing. Fair enough. They said, "Wow, small world." Yeah, I never finished. I never got far into that Satan 66 whatever devil whatever. But I'm known about it. I remember giving
You
it a
can definitely
shot.
see like the similarities between it and Naruto in some regards.
Mm, but yeah, um, I like what you said about Sorry, I'm sure I can find it. Sorry, one real quick. We're like, yeah, it's true that we're learning with Bam and Co and whatnot, but it would be nice to see like we know Shinsu density is a thing, and it doesn't seem like it's affecting anybody in any meaningful way. No one's made a comment about it or in their head where it's getting harder to move or anything of the sort. Where it's like, I say those little small comments and moments sprinkled out throughout the series tend to go a long way. We could use a lot more of
Hmm.
that, a lot more of that and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Shibisu is not supposed to be a powerful combatant. He uses his mind, and he seems to be like perfectly okay. So yeah. Shinsu is a great effing magic system. Anyone who tells you otherwise is a joke, man. All right, fair enough. Fair and straight to the point.
Solid.
I think Shinsu overall is really good. It sits in a good middle ground between more convoluted stuff like Nen. Is Nen convoluted? I don't think Nen is convoluted.
I don't either.
I would I would look you I could not look you in the eye and tell you I understand Nen Beast, but that's not because it's complicated. It's because I don't care and I stop reading.
I
Not
I,
because
I wonder. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say. I wonder this. You might agree with me. I wonder if people are confusing specific, like just really long abilities with the actual system itself.
L-
And that's not
like
to
like
say it's not a
like
part of the
knuckle like
system, but like,
knuckles like bank system. I can understand that maybe throwing you for a loop, especially if you don't really understand like I guess overdrafting and interest rates and stuff like that. Like that, like I can get that one specific instance could confuse you. I get, you know.
yeah, or like maybe people are like, Crollo has so many abilities it's hard to keep track. But there's a distinct difference between like one person's individual ability versus the actual system of Nin. The actual system of Nin isn't that hard to understand.
Yeah,
Even like when you look at like the subset powers, I forget the names, and when you put it in your eye or you have your space in and stuff like that, like those things aren't hard. Okay, and it's just combinations between these things. Like it's just certain people may have just really really long abilities, and even then, I can understand like why people get sometimes confused. I think just sometimes authors just write too much when they explain ability. Sometimes that makes you
they over
more
explain it, and
confused.
it's actually a bad
Yes.
explanation of it. That's on them. We often talk about this is actually a lot more simple than it is. Why did you explain it like this? We say that all the time.
Yeah.
I would much rather watch. Sorry, I would much rather bam spam the floral butterfly pigeon technique. It looks right every time. To be fair, do you know what? To why we know? Do we buy? No, wait. Do we know how Shinsu works with souls? Does it work the same with an administrator, or is that unique to Bam and White? I think that's a good question. I think the reason why I think currently it's unique to Batman White because White learned a spell or a
I
technique that
think he
allows him to do that in conjunction with his like siblings or whatnot. If I remember that correctly, or maybe I'm not remembering that correctly,
he got it from
but
the book, right?
yeah, but Bam is like a devourer naturally. Like he seems to be able to just pull things into himself. So maybe he has a natural inclination to do this. But
Heck yeah.
conversely, you could just say Bam saw it and he could copy it. I guess. Bam's a copycat. And then Albeida gave him the soul force. So he had souls to burn. Maybe the problem is this tech this technique is seen as maybe evil and effed up. So you have to like kill people and take their souls into you, first of all. And I don't know if that causes like a. I think I wanted to say maybe they causes a resentment because there was that weird part where you could see them all slamming away from Bam as he was using it. And there's a couple of reasons you could come up with, but I do think that's a fair question to ask though. Like, could anybody learn that if they had the book? Could Aguero do that? Could Rack do that?
I think
Could
so.
fucking Hansung you do that?
I think so.
So
I think so.
okay,
I think so. I think it's just like, because I feel like spells are one of those like power system like in this. It's one of those power system things of like anybody can do it. It just takes dedication and time.
yeah. So, but yeah, sorry. So let's get back to this Lazaro. Um, I think Shinju's overall really good. It sits in a good middle ground between more convoluted stuff like Nan and a more simple power systems, and I mean that in a good way. I also like that the power is based on the user, but not like Nan that you can sort of decide what your power is. I think it ties to the character development in an interesting way to probably use Shinsu at least as an irregular. You have to understand yourself, not what you think you are, but what you actually are. A good non-irregular example of this is Kun with his Shinsu shape being a spear. In fact, the entire concept of your Shinsu properties and your limit for using Shinsu being set by birth is really fits thematically too, which is great. Since you can train hard, but there is a ceiling you will hit eventually without additional external intervention like canine transformation, jihad blood, etc. You can't push back. You can't just push past that. And even within that, you still hard locked by your innate Shinsu limit. Okay. Shinsu being a purely external energy source alone, I think makes it a lot more interesting to me that our regulars have the ability to achieve control of all of the Shinsu in the area, almost like like sub admins is fascinating. Even beyond being able to overpower you, the regulars can negate your Shinsu itself. The only person we've seen do that really though is Hell Joe. Like stop people
Yeah.
from being able to use it, and even somehow worked on a wreck, which I never really fully understood. Soul Force, Ghost Runner would Bam and White Up.
The way I took it was just like I guess actually no, that wouldn't make sense. I was gonna say the floor just had an absence of Shinsu since there
Mm.
wasn't any to control, but that actually doesn't even make
The
sense
Floor of
because
Death
like
is already kind of weird, so I understand that it's different.
yeah.
But I guess Bam's had the Thorn. I don't know. I do think you're right. Despite external Shinsu attacks often being beings with no other properties, there are a lot of things like the Kina transformations that use Shinsu that a lot of times we overlook. Look at just on Caliban and Shaw examples. They're all pure martial artists and fishermen, but they use Shinsu differently. Caliban's a much more Western, striking boxing style, and he literally makes punches explode with his Shinsu property at the end, making his blows really destructive. Jinx has a very mystical Eastern style of fighting, which he often doesn't rely on striking, but making contact with his opponent to control their Shinsu flow. Sha kind of strikes a balance between the two, and maybe is sort of a kickboxer or Muay Thai or something, but he also has fairly strictly used Shinsu for either boosting himself or for purely rage attacks otherwise. He was sending those punches, I remember. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of the irregulars use Shinsu though. Blossom and Tupuri especially, I think they're going to be able to do some wild ish. Fair enough. Um, now that you explain it, it sounds stupid. SC needs to explain what's the difference between magic and Shinsu unless magic is related to access members or outside of the tower. Man, he got a lot to explain. He really
I
does.
think spells were just like depending on how he does it, it literally just might be like like the most apt comparison is like Goshu, right? Like they came from a world like Goshu, where like you have martial arts and ki. Like sometimes people have like they're like spellcasters. They use talismans or mediums of spells to, like do shit. That's like something I could see like Jihad and them came from, and they came into Shinsu. Like that makes the most sense to me because they had swords, arrows, spells, and stuff. That's like what I see.
Yeah.
They came from like Mirio, like a martial arts world or something.
Oh, we got one more comment. It's a good thing I refreshed it. We got one more comment. Okay, the question is, what is Shinsu? Is it is the space and Shinsu the same and also being matter at the same time? I remember Jihad explains flow explosion to Bam and he said you could control Shinsu in everything, as if everything in the tower is made of Shinsu, even the space itself, according to how Shinwan Ryu works. I don't exactly understand what Shinsu is. Hmm. You might be
Yeah, I
doing
guess.
you might no, but you might be doing the thing where like you overthink one explanation of it and you're letting it trickle down and affect all the other uses you've seen to it. Whereas I don't think Shinsu is particularly hard to understand. I think it's a phenomenon in energy and matter within that world that could be used to construct things like the sky and the air around us that we breathe or whatever, but it could also be used to hurt, wound, and heal and create. Like it's just that it's kind of like how I almost want to say Mora, but like I don't actually know too much about Genshin, and then my lore might be off. Where Mora is a money a currency, but also has weird transformative properties with it, where it's just like it's like an end all be all. You can do whatever it is you need to do with it. Now, if you're asking literally specifically, like is Shinsu literally like a divine water in the tower that gets manipulated in different ways? Then I guess yeah, that makes sense to me. Like quite at its most literal sense. Like I could still tell you, I guess hockey is like willpower. Does that make you know what I'm saying? Does that make
Yeah,
am I making sense? I don't think I'm making
I
sense.
think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I think Shinsu is good for the foundation. I think seeing it used more would be better. TOG is a mix between hard and magic style system like Avatar The Last Airbender. It has a good rules that are consistent, but has room to. Do I agree with that for Avatar? Somewhere in the middle. I guess I'll come back to that. Sorry,
Wait,
my mind went crazy for a second. Let me focus. And change the transform to better system. I think learning more about how it works and why it works would be really good. I think SLU missed a good opportunity in season one, early season two, to explain where it came from. I know it came from. It didn't come from Gustang. Gustang noticed it and was able to quantifiably record there's some shit around us. That's how I understood it. Not that he created Shinsu. Right? Am I off on that?
yeah, he recorded. He didn't create it. It
Yeah.
existed before him.
Yeah, exactly. But it would be cool if we got more backstory from him. We don't even really know that much about him. I think SLU should go to the Dangate families and stories, backstories into the next arc, and that's the last comment.
Uh, what was I about to say?
Was it about Avatar being a
Yeah, I mean,
hard magic system?
yeah. Well, most I don't. Every single magic system operates on a spectrum between hard and soft. I really don't know if I can think of one that's only hard or only soft. But I mean, most are usually probably going to lean more hard. But yeah, Avatar. I think they said it's just a pure mix between it. But I
Mm.
mean, I think it. No, he said ToG is a mix and a soft mat between. Oh, he's no. Yeah, he said Avatar's both. I think Avatar's a lot more on the hard side for sure.
I think so. The way that I see, obviously, I understand these concepts are more like placeholders and whatnot. It's like I understand it. Like I get, like I'd rather just kind of explain the inner workings of it, and you can decide for yourself where it's like. But like we have the four elements, and it usually gives you access to like sub elements that relate to that power and whatnot. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a way to create and manipulate it with the natural environment around you, you can't do it. So like it has rules. What I find a lot of the times what I do is like I'll say like, hey, this system is softer more than it is harder. Pause. Or is harder more than it is softer. No pause. Right. So like
Yeah,
that's kind of how I
yeah.
like to do it more often than not. These days, in hindsight, I didn't used to do it all. This is a pretty recent thing. It's not something I used to do my whole life. So like I'll tell you like because generally speaking, it's the more rules and limitations and caps you have, or you have to like do certain prerequisites to get certain things. That's gonna be harder. But the more loose and free it is, generally it's softer. So
Yeah, and I think sometimes people think of things because they'll say things like nin and stuff. So when they don't have something that has like a lot of like a long list of rules, they think it by nature it's softer, but that's not true. Like with Avatar, even though it's not like, oh, there's all these things just like the elements, but I mean they are, as you said, it's pretty like hard and basic. If you're not the Avatar, you have one element. Like you can only do things within your element. It's just as simple as that. And everything else just comes from general training, which I guess you could say is like maybe a little bit on the softer side because of like how much you can do to what degree and stuff.
mhm,
But that's just training. But I mean, it's like Qatar. There's no rule in Qatar goes out and like randomly learns firebending. That's impossible. Like she's unfortunately set by birth of what she can do, and avatars can do more. But what avatars can do is well understood by like the audience.
exactly. SIU would definitely wait. I think Shinshu is more is like Key from DBZ, but a bit but more complex. You're not the first person to say that to me, and I understand where you're coming from. SIU would definitely fully explain
Interesting.
his power system when Phantom Minim comes back in the story. What is one niche power system you have a complete understanding of? Mine is the power system of Overgeared.
I have quite a
Mm.
few. Oh, you said niche though. Uh, niche power system.
I think that if I think I might have I think that if I had to like do a presentation on allomancy, I think I'd knock it out the park. It's probably one I could think of. Um,
I think I could do
Yay!
drafting
Zodiac.
from
Peace,
Lightbringer.
peace.
I think I could do drafting from Lightbringer. I think
Mm,
I can do pretty well on that.
Um, I could probably explain how ether and ether flow worked in Xenoblade Chronicles really well. Um, I still would argue that I probably understand the light and darkness and how keyblades and stuff work in Kingdom Hearts. If that's the like, what's the magic? I suppose though they just have general magic though.
And you got that.
But
Yay!
I used to always do that. That's
Bonita.
why.
Peace, peace.
Shout out to the Gold Zodiac. Yes, we shouldn't have to wait. Sorry, we shouldn't have to wait for strong opponents to see unique Shinsu abilities. Often the weak have to find crafty and cunning means to move up the tower. We just don't see many traditional floor tests anymore since we jumped so high in power level. And it's always slightly
I
disappointing.
agree.
I also think it's also slightly disappointing where like a lot of the times these are rankers, higher rankers, and advanced rankers reacting to different techniques, and they're like, "What the hell is that?" And if they're the ones who are supposed to be completing it, and they're reacting like that, it almost doesn't give me hope that there will be many of them who are like, "Oh, I've seen that before. I know what that is. I can deal with that." They'll be like, "I don't know what that is. How do I deal with that?" So
Even if it's like something you haven't seen, I feel like your experience would at least like help make you extremely quick on the uptake. Like, okay, I've seen something close to this 300 years ago.
mm,
You know, that
yep.
would be the hope. But wait, are
Uh,
you? I can't remember if I asked this. Because I remember we did our side topics, but I remember this was like, uh, but did it? Are you more hard or soft magic system guy?
in terms of my preference, I don't have one. I
Yeah.
just need I
Okay.
well, I guess like if someone said, "Hey, like you have to choose one for the rest of your life," and let's say the person who's creating whatever the story is because a competent writer, I'd say go hard just because I would say that they would know what they're doing. But I
Okay.
for me it's just like how does it tie in tandem with the story? It's kind of like the argument like do you like static or dynamic characters more? I don't see anything inherently better or worse about either. How did you execute?
Yeah.
S-
I
s-
th- I think as I get older, I have an appreciation for softer systems more and more. But I think softer are harder to do
I
because you
think
have to be careful.
I think when I was almost at your age, you're not 60, but like when I was growing up around
Jesus
that time,
Christ.
I I I cared about seeming extremely intelligent and stuff like that. So I attached myself to stuff like Technolize or like Serial Experiments Lane, and things of that nature with like the psychological thrillers, and then we pontificate about philosophy like that because I wanted to seem smart. The older I got, the less that was important to me in any capacity. So I think that like I can read a story that was very simple. What's the story about? This guy's gonna bike in La Tour de France and he wants to win. Anything else? He's if he wins, he gets to date the girl he likes. So it's very simple, and he bikes, and then you go through whatever the race, and you see what happens. Where it's like I could enjoy that thoroughly, but at 16, I'd be like, this has no complexity. Like I would have been really pretentious and high and mighty. No,
Hmm.
it's still very simple from point A to point B. There's no point. Like I don't need all that anymore. So a good story is a good story, whether it's simple, somewhere in the middle, or complex. That's just kind of how I am. Like I don't think there's a one size fits all, one color paints all, whatever the saying is. It's just like again, for me, I'm at the point in my life. How did you execute your concept? Was it good or bad? Because a lot of things that I look at, I'm like, people look at like, okay, so you know how like I don't know if you know about this, but like in JRPGs, backtracking is seen as this abhorrent thing. Like backtracking, oh my god, if you have to backtrack in a video game, it's the worst thing ever. Where I'm like, I see nothing inherently bad or good about backtracking. Why am I going back? That's my question. What did I travel from Pallet Town to Vermilion City and then Team Rocket attacked my hometown, so I ran back? Well, that's a good fucking reason to go back to my hometown,
That's crazy.
right?
Backtracking's actually looked at that badly.
Yeah. Generally speaking, like people think, oh, but it's a lot of backtracking. But I'm like, but see, when you say that, you're not saying anything to me. Is it
I must have never played Hollow
nonsensical
Knight.
backtracking for no reason? Because like I would say, I understand why backtracking exists in these video games because you have to work within the hardware limitations of a cartridge back in the day. That's why the slime would go from blue, the stronger one was red, the other one was black. You have to reuse those assets and just color them differently because there's only so much storage space on that system. So they would reuse old areas and make you go back because there's only so much you can create in the game. So I have that foreknowledge. So when I look at a new game and I'm backtracking for whatever reason, I just want to know like, why am I going back here? Is there a reason? If I got a whole set of new abilities like double jump and wall cling and yada yada, I want to go back and see what I can find. I want to do this. That's not a bad thing in my opinion. So I don't get caught up on certain stuff like that. So yeah,
I think it's even more fun, and you can. And that's why I also like Hollow Knight. Uh, Even if you don't have the abilities, there's still other ways sometimes to still get to certain areas, even if you don't have the prerequisite, which I really like.
if you're
If you know how
creative
to
enough,
like,
or you can like really time jumps and sword
yes,
swings really well. Downward striking really helped me get to some areas I didn't think I'd get to before.
yes,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like SLU would have to jump to Wagner and back to that type of storytelling. I'd like that. SLU was actually looking for the assistant. Was it on Twitter or his blog? I actually don't know. I made the video solely based off a rumor. Did not fact check that. I actually prefer games where you have to backtrack after getting new abilities. I again, just depends for me, but like it doesn't bother. Like I think with me, I can say it doesn't bother me. Like I can tell you, like I don't like grinding inherently. I don't know if grinding is inherently a bad thing. I just don't like doing it for any fucking reason. I hate it. But that's a personal thing. I could look at that and be like, see, I hate grinding. So I'll speak for myself here, but is it maybe it's not tedious in this game and it's really easy and it's like you can auto battle or something like that. So like maybe it's not really like that big a deal. Like you gotta go case by case for certain things. Not always, but for certain things you gotta go case by case. So yeah. So it's like same thing with soft and hard magic. When I was younger, I definitely look at you be like soft magic, like no complaint, like whatever, like just I was a funny kid, but yeah, but yeah, maybe I'll drop. I think maybe I'll drop this one tomorrow, the ToG one, and maybe save some Kubera stuff for later, and then I have a One Piece video for Friday talking about the most iconic form for Luffy. But they said Naya apply now, save ToG, please. I'm telling you. If I was on that staff, and Katie said, "Yeah, to get myself on the One Piece staff too." If I was in that editing room, bro, I promise you this story would not fail. Cause I actually did. I didn't tell anybody this. I actually read the last chapter. I just read it on my own, like randomly. I was taking a poop. I'm like, oh, I was like, oh, let me just read this. And I got no. Still like I'm like yeah I could have waited. I really have no feelings on this. Like stupid, but I do think I actually think it's very strongly implied that Haku. That's crazy. Kaku is awakened because Zoro makes a comment that he looks different and something about him seems different, and he had the same type of floating dark whatever flame thing that Lucci had. I think they're both awakened.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw that, I was actually like, "This is insane." Like the Lucci having awakening to me, honestly, isn't a big deal. You know, he's had it for 20 years or whatever. Whatever.
Because
Kaku's
Haku,
had that shit for 2 years.
I guess the argument that I could see a One Piece fan with his cape flowing in the wind or her cape flowing in the wind immediately is that Kaku figured out a lot of stuff with his abilities very quickly, as with Pasta Machine and his neck stuff,
I
and
guess that's
because he had
fair.
just gotten it. Like I would argue that Caulifla didn't necessarily showcase that; it just that it hit Nami. It's like, what the fuck's going on, right? But Kaku actually acclimated himself to being a giraffe pretty quickly, so maybe he's a genius devil fruit user. That's
Like,
I'm not even saying that's like a good reason, but that's like if I was a super stan, that's the first thing I'd say to you as a counterpoint.
I guess that's fair, but then I would just question. This is the only thing where I would just question the author of like, well, why would you give it to him and not so many other equal? I guess we can't
Kaido's
say
a fucking
equally as
moron. You can't
genius.
figure it out.
Not even Kaido, just as commanders, like even just not them, but just other people that don't have it. It's just like a weird decision to make. Like out of all the people that could have awakening, Kaku, it's just so odd.
Nice. Even the giraffe merchant awakens, but they can't. I want a dungeon game that when you die, the game gets harder. That's interesting. So you're saying like it would be like a roguelike similar to like a Hades or Have a Nice Death or Moonlighter or something like that. But you know how usually with the boons that you get and stuff, the game becomes a little easier for your next run. It gets more difficult. So would it
That sounds
start easy then? But does it start easy or does it just start brutal?
that doesn't sound like it could sustain itself at all.
I can see the punish me merchants. I just want to play the hardest game ever. That's like getting into that. Like I think there's a niche for that, but I don't think it would be like a big thing. Like it have its community. I think it could work, but you know, I'm hard pressed to see how. But again, I'm not a video game designer. I have no I can't code nothing. So and now if you need me to write for the video game, I'm in there. But otherwise, I can't help you. Because my friend wants to make one with RPG Maker. I said I'm just writing the dialogue and the script. I'm not doing none of this asset stuff though. Actually, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. But yeah, and then Stussy is a clone of somebody. Who's Buckingham? Do we know who that is? I don't even know who that was. Like
We
I don't
don't
even.
know who that is. We just know it's someone on the
That was super lame to me, by the way.
crew.
That was like the lamest and thing ever. And like, I just don't care about it. I don't know. Then Bonnie was hitting the old man. Just like, bro, is it truly moving people? Like, is this shit really like removing people right
Yes.
now? Like, I
Yes, it is.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's one of those things like I can actually see like the things that would move people. I'm just too far gone.
I've been the same since 10:30.
I'm just too far gone.
10:30.
I've
I've
been,
been the same.
I've been the same.
I
Something
tried
broke.
watching One Piece, but I got confused with the filler. Should I just read the manga? If you're gonna do it, I would actually suggest you read it. Don't bother with. I mean, there you could look up in Google a list of fillers so you know what to skip. But um, I my preference, Infinite, is to read. I like to read more than I would like to watch. Like for me, it goes like reading, playing, watching in that order. Probably, maybe I don't know about that, but like I like to read a lot. So and plus, with reading, I just find that I get through it quicker. Like if I have to watch something, it might show me a shot of the sky, the sea, the wasteland, the mountains, and then a wide shot of Goku will circle around to Vegeta, and then they start fighting. That took 5 minutes. Whereas I was reading that, and that 5 minutes, I finished the fucking chapter. So for
Yeah,
me,
I'm the same way.
yeah. So I can't. It's like I always say: if you see me watch something, you'll notice something. My hand is usually right near the mouse to drag through anything I don't want to. I don't want to sit through. Like I'm a notorious scrubber. Like okay, all right. Like when Luffy was averaging 4 flashbacks per hit against Kaido, I'm like, I don't want to see all this. Just move to the end. I didn't care. So yeah. People saying Bochan with Weevil. They saying it's M's back in. Chief is actually asking for the difficulty Soulsborne haters claim is it's a natural difficulty for you. But yeah, that chapter is
Yeah,
lit. Are we coming back this week again? Another one this week? I might read the spoilers just so I don't think I care. I just read the spoilers.
I think I would assume I think it because I know like the past like month has been like the kind of irregular stuff because all the things, but I think you should still be another chapter this week. I think so.
I actually am upset that I only missed a chapter. Like I was off for three
Yeah,
weeks. I only missed one chapter. I really wasn't behind. Because I went back too. Like I read this one. What the hell? But I think I realized what happened though. I remember reading on I'm such a minis box. THTSB, TCB, whatever fuck. And then they had a low quality version for a chapter. And I think they re-released in a high quality the week after. Then maybe there was the break or whatever, and then this chapter came out. So I think that's what threw me for a loop. I thought I was at least 2 chapters behind. So what do you think about the new Invincible teaser? I actually haven't watched it. I know it's Alan the alien and Mark sitting in a diner eating, and I know that he talks about Uarth a little bit, but I didn't
it's
actually
nothing
watch.
crazy.
I didn't watch it. I didn't actually watch it. I don't know if it's funny or not, but I just want to see the robot stuff. Yeah, like I'm just like they've taken a lot of liberties already with the first season. So I am interested to see how the cartoon is going to flesh out certain stuff in certain moments, certain arcs. But I'm like, I had a good time watching the first season. It wasn't perfect. I had my issues and gripes
I
with
did
some
too.
animation issues, but I really, as a person who really has a lot of reverence for that comic book series, I really enjoyed seeing people's reaction to many things, especially the Omni Man like moments. Like that's really what's been like fueling me, like seeing people react to this because I like seeing people react to like the comic books. This is something that I would say you're in my wheelhouse. I'm an image guy. I like it. Like like for like something else. Like I might say like this is like a general thing people like or someone else's wheelhouse. Like when you watch Deadly Class or like Paper Girls, like you're in my wheelhouse of shit that I really like. So I like to see how people react to it.
I have two questions.
What's up?
One, who is your favorite character? I guess if
Invincible?
it's
It's
not if
Alan.
oh okay.
Alan the Alien. I like a lot of that stemmed from the fact I'm not gonna say anything crazy, guys. I won't explain anything. I didn't think he would be that important, and I actually thought his first visit to Earth was hilarious. Like I actually real life chuckled when they were like, "This is Earth." He's like, "Wait,
You know what? I'm not mad at that. I actually really like Alan. Mark is my guy. I'm
yeah."
a Mark guy. That's my that's my guy. Uh, I fuck with Battle Beast. Yeah.
Battle Beast, and Thrag were some steppers, man. I understand that.
And I was gonna say
Mark's mother is actually one of my favorite characters. I don't remember
I
her name
actually
right
really
now.
like her
I
too.
like her a lot.
Debbie.
Yeah, robots one of my favorites too. I like robot. I don't
Uh,
There's a character I want to mention, but I don't think they've been introduced. Let me shut my mouth.
yeah, I have a character I think is a sleeper,
Hmm.
but he's not here yet. I will just say he's red and he takes
Ah,
after some ancient things.
okay.
That's my guy.
Mhm.
I think I think him and Mark together were
I get a
really
kick
really
out of
good.
Bit Little Bro. I'll just leave it at that. I got a kick out of him too. I get a kick out of him. I don't know if I like him like that, but I get a kick out of him. Like I genuinely like he might look a
I'm not
certain
a
way, but he's like into things that like that don't match with how he looks, but you know what he is. So it's so funny to me. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yo, Omni Man was wild for that, by the way. Like, ew.
Yes, I know it was ugly.
You wildin'. There's no fucking way.
Absolutely. Insane. What
Uh,
I say is I
Miles.
one change. I don't think it's really a story. Fucking Omni Man fight and shit. I like that it's stripped down a little bit. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Hello.
go ahead. It's yeah, go ahead. Okay, you know.
Okay. I was gonna say a spoiler because we the Omni Man and stuff. And this was just general like
We lost him.
uh
We lost him again.
as song they were in the comics. I appreciate that actually.
I got
You
I gotta appreciate that
really?
actually. Yeah, I don't know. It could be me. What about my favorite
Hel-
character when he turns?
Hello,
Blah blah blah. Hold on, hold
hello.
on, hold on. Yes, yeah. Okay, go now. Because I can hear you. Go. I
I
lost.
appreciate that Omni Man isn't as strong as he was in the comics.
Okay. Yes.
That's what I was saying.
I don't know. That remains to be seen because I think that would be dependent on what they do with Mark because I think Mark had like he had a real level he had to grow to, and I think he actually struggled to get there, especially being half human. So like I like that when he got there, it felt like a real accomplishment. I think by lowering that, you make it easier and you cheapen it a little bit. But again, you could play around with it in ways that maybe I'm not considering that could be interesting. So I'll reserve judgment for that, but I understand that.
Okay. I guess that's a fair way. Okay, when you put it like that, I guess that's actually relatively fair. I guess I'm looking at it in the sense of like, at some points it seemed like they were almost like too big obstacles to overcome.
Mm.
Though I guess that is the literal point. So I guess when you put it like that, that makes sense. But like, I still like the new version of Omni Man versus the what the fuck were they called?
Evolution
Uh, no, the original like fake Justice League.
Oh, damn it! I can't remember the name. The globe.
Like
Uh, anyways, yeah, go ahead. I can't recall. Bonjour,
whatever.
mon coeur.
That the actual fight in the show, I really, really, really like,
Mm.
and I think even shows like Omni Man's understanding of how to actually fight and operate in the way he like kind of like systematically fought him, but they could like still kind of fight, but it's still clear Omni Man is he is the guy, and
Yeah.
I think like the way in which they played with that fight specifically was really, really, really well done.
Okay, that's fair. Like I could understand that point. Again, I think what would ultimately allow me to judge whether it was a good decision is how Mark grows and what happens and how they do.
Yeah,
So like that's why I'm like I have no real opinion on that yet in that sense. So I read the manga that was your top 5. I saw a boner. I thought it was gonna be good, but only got a broken heart. You talk about Sundome. He's gotta be Sundome. You see, it's like a lot of those things you might say, all right, Chikano Toko, whatever. You're like, bro, why am I sad? I'm sad. Like this is a sad boner. Omni Man was weaker. He one shot the guard into the glove where they actually gave him a chance to show. Yeah, yeah. I do want to show you guys
though
some
you
news,
could.
some new things I picked up. I got today from my friend. Hold on, keep talking.
I was gonna say just a quick thing though. To be fair, Omni Man didn't get nearly the jump on him that he did in the show versus the comics, which is another thing as well.
I also like his name Cecil. What's the guy with the thing in his ear all the time? I like him too.
Cecil,
I
yeah,
un-
Cecil.
I've always understood why he approaches things the way he approached it. Whether or not I agree with it, I'm like I get it. He just
Yes.
wanted like he's I understand his mindset, so I've never really got mad at him. This is just an essential oils thing that you got because I'm an essential oils merchant. So that was cool. So finally gonna start collecting The Last Man. I haven't actually read too much of this. I actually probably should have gotten it in French now that I'm thinking about it. Now I'm upset at myself. I'm fraud. I'm a fraud. I got it in French because I read Radiant in French. Anyways, um,
Yeah, I just read the last volume in French because the translations take so long.
I actually had somebody once come to me and be like, "Can you read this and explain what's happening to
I, I
me?"
actually I actually I translated. Me and my friend actually translated some of the chapters. I just didn't like post it because I was like, I don't know who I'm supposed to show this to. So, but I
Oh,
was just
okay.
doing it just because like it was kind of fun to do. Actually,
I feel it. But I'm gonna let you guys know how I think about this. There's a prequel TV show that came out from was it Bobby Pills? Why the not not Why the Last Man? That's something different. The Last Man, but I thought it was super dope. I liked it. So okay, I'm probably gonna wrap up soon, anyways. We'll be reading Invincible after Monsters Book 2 and one of Saga. Looking forward to the ride. Very happy for you. So Deadly Class ended in I think October. I think I told you that I was actually enjoying some of the later stuff that was happening. So I'm like, yo, yeah. So I'm about to literally. This is the last thing I got to do. I'm about to read this tonight. So there's that. I wanted to. I've seen the artwork for this for so many years. From from America. She's from Italy, if I remember correctly. She's from Italy. So this is called Sweet Paprika. I've always seen like her drawing and stuff, whatever. She also did Unnatural, which I enjoyed. I didn't like it enough to get it. And I know there's an Unnatural like sequel. I don't think I cared enough, but I'll let you know if this is any good. And then I also got the second volume of Sweet Paprika, so that's what we got today, which was dope. I feel like did I forget something? Was that everything? Yeah, I think that's everything. So yeah. What is a comic or manga that is good but super hard to understand?
Hmm.
I think east of west, if you're not careful, it's easy to get lost. Like people, cause so here's how I see it, right? People have varying levels of like comprehension, ability to analyze, deconstruct, and think critically about what it is that they're engaging with, right? So you gotta start there. People's level of ability that are different. I really don't think Metal Gear Solid is complicated or hard to understand, so long as you have played all the games in relatively the right order. But if you ask somebody to explain Metal Gear to someone who doesn't know anything about it, it is hard to explain. But if you just play them, I don't think they're complex like that. Like I wasn't lost in the Metal Gear story. I might be like, that's wonky, that's weird, that's a retcon, but I wasn't lost. Because Kingdom Hearts was the same thing. I never got lost in Kingdom Hearts. I played all the games in the right order, except for Chain of Memories. I played that one out of order, so only one out of order. I wasn't lost. I understood what was going on. I don't know if people are not doing things in the right order sometimes, whatever the case is, but there's probably not too many things I could think of that I think are that level of complex. But I'll actually give you a video game first. I think the Zero Escape series. First, I noticed this with a lot of people from the East, maybe who like really consume Eastern storytelling. Parallel worlds throw them off. Multiple dimensions and the concept of the many world interpretation theory completely threw them for a loop. I noticed this with Funny Valentine, and I noticed this with Byakuran specifically. Oddly enough, even in Dragon Ball Z a little bit with Trunks, they're like, why didn't the timeline just magically become fixed? And I'm like, understanding that from that point where a change was made, it diverges into its own timeline. So Trunks coming back only saves them. His future is still fucked. But it's not. But he could probably learn something from the past and bring there. So like, there's not too many things that I can think of that are not complicated. But I think Virtue's Last Reward was one of the most complex stories I ever followed. I think it was complicated. Now I cared a lot, so I was able to follow it. But I think Virtue's Last Reward was hard to follow if you weren't paying attention. You said Attack on Titan is not for you. I understand the story, but I can't explain it to someone without spoilers, mainly due to the second half of the series. I think that was like understand. I can understand. I could agree with. Do you have anything in your head like that? Comes to
I'm
mind
trying
for
to
you?
think, cause sometimes I don't know if things are like innately like complicated. Cause I'm a big we talked about this. I'm a big reader or rewatcher, and I notice how like I don't say how little, but how much I may have missed or misunderstood or now realize when rereading or re-going through series. And I wonder, is it because I'm like I was just dumb and didn't understand, or was I just not paying attention? You know what I mean?
It happens a lot actually with me in a sense where
Wh-
it's like you just I guess with the foreknowledge you already have, you notice more, and you're like, I actually didn't pick that up the first time. Yeah,
Yeah. And then sometimes it's kind of what we said earlier too. Sometimes authors just explain their shit badly.
yeah.
Like so, like, because mostly like sometimes I don't know if like, things are. I don't, especially when we're talking about what was this specifically manga or was this just in general?
They said manga or comic book, but I started with a video game.
I'm trying to think because there's definitely been some things. I think
I could say this
time
though.
time travel stuff bothers me because I feel like it's never properly explained. It's because I'm
Okay.
like people. I feel like people never explain like closed loop or loop sometimes in their stories. So I'm just like, so my biggest thing is always like, how did this shit start? I understand the loop. I understand why it's happening, but I'm saying, where was the initial
The
point that
very
started
first
this?
instance that started this cycle. I got you.
Yes, that usually trips me up because I always just think and think. But I feel like there definitely is. I would just have to think about it. That would just take me some time to think about.
There's two that I could mention, but it's not that I think necessarily the story. I guess I don't know. For Count no Kyokai or Garden of Sinners, depends on who you ask. But because the story is not told in chronological order, I see that a lot of people get lost and confused about the order of events and sequence of events. I'm going to throw the Monogatari series in there as well, where I think Ichi is a brilliant writer, and I do not particularly think Monogatari is overly complex, but it's not told in chronological order. So I think sometimes not telling your story in order definitely throws people for a loop. So um with Tower of God and Kubera, I just think they're dense. There's a lot to remember very quickly. So I think you will probably be benefited from a couple of rereads. I kind of agree with Glam that Kubera's not particularly like super complex or complicated. It's just executed well, and there's a lot to remember. So you might just forget certain things and have to like think back to like a random chapter or something. But
Question.
you're talking to a guy. Sorry, you're talking to a guy who had to explain to somebody how Peerless donuts work. Like I don't get it because they didn't have like you know what I mean. So like, let us sneeze. Bless you.
No, I laughed. I
Uh,
completely.
oh, like like people
Explain
like I
Peerless
don't get
Donuts
it.
insane.
Yeah, like
Uh, no, I was gonna ask. Yeah, because Glenn said that a few times. I guess okay. So my question is, what defines a complex story?
I would actually. I think. I think thinking about it on the spot is hard, but I would actually argue maybe perhaps. You know what? No, because she does have time travel stuff, and that does confuse people a lot of the times. But I think it's one of the things where maybe it's not complicated for me, but complicated for thee. But um, I think Kubera's just really well done and executed. Like to me, it just seems that there's a lot of long term thinking and long term planning done here from the jump. Nothing seems to be kind of
Yes.
thrown in at a random's notice or anything of the sort. I just think there's a lot to remember, and my memory is ass. So the only way for me to be like super sharp on everything is gonna be with multiple rereads, which is gonna happen. But I would argue like maybe with Kata no Kyokai again because it's I say Kata no Kyokai. I'm gonna fuck that up. But I mean the Garden of Sinners because there's another. I don't mean Beyond the Boundary. What was that called in Japanese? Was that Kata no Kyokai? I might have. I'm gonna fuck that up. My bad if I said that earlier. But the stuff with Shiki and whatnot, because it's not told in order, and you have to be able to discern specific events that already happened with context clues or a sentence here and there to follow what's going on. Virtue's Last Reward is a trilogy, but the second game actually is. I think the second game is technically the last thing in terms of chronological events. So like, I think sometimes telling your story out of order is the thing that confuses a lot of people. So but I don't know. Complex, I guess you could say if it's not just straight up point A to point B simple, maybe it's point A to D, back to B to C, but then it circles around B one more time to come back to A. Maybe that's just the best way to say it. It's just not straight up simple, like explicitly. I don't know. It's just a good
Okay,
question. It's a good
because
question. I'm not
because
sure.
I don't want to put words in Graham's mouth. I think Graham, when he said that, I think he specifically made reference to the plot or story. I can't remember which one he said because there is a difference between the two.
Mm.
Uh, but I think he was referencing one of those. But I guess my question, this is weird because I'm asking a question where he's not here, but it would be like, if we can agree, I think we would all agree that the characters themselves are complex and the relationships are complex.
Mm.
And if they're the ones driving the story more than anything else, rather than it being plot driven, because I think Kuber's character driven rather than plot driven, wouldn't that by virtue make this overall story complex?
I think objectively, he might be doing the thing where it's again complex for thee for but not for me. It's kind of like I'll never forget this argument when it was made to me because it's one of the things where I'm like, oh, actually, I agree with that. Like I was super like dogmatic and I was like vitriolic, and so I made this point. But actually, you know what? Fair enough. I agree. Hold on, real quick. Um, I want to say the movie Danny Darko is a series like that for me. Also, saw as a kid. I don't. Again like Matrix. Like Matrix confused. I did not know what that was about, but when I had a brain and I watched it, I'm like, oh, I get it. Like the world's fake.
Mm.
They're machine batteries or food. Like I said before, I'll say it again. I read comics and consider myself decently versed in multiverse shenanigans, but the first appearance of D4C was so effing confusing to the point I still believe Iraqi changed how D4C worked later because the original ability was nonsensical. I just think that he played a lot of tricks with the art of the unknown. But you wouldn't be the first person to think that he initially wanted that people think that his ability was to bring things into this world, not to just travel through them freely. I hate time travel because it's always a paradox. Like a time travel visions made no sense to me. If the attack titan can control time, why would they let their whole race be enslaved? Don't know. I think TOG has a better magic system. TOG. I think I agree with that. Sorry, where were we? Where were we? Oh, an example, complex for thee, not for me, kind of thing, right? Is that what I was doing?
Say that again.
Was I doing a complex for thee but not for me thing? Is that what I was that?
Yes, yes,
What was
yes.
the
You were doing
example?
that.
What was the example I was just about to use? Though, was the question.
Complex for me, but not for the. I don't know because you got on a JoJo thing. You were talking about multiverse. I have no idea.
Yeah, sorry. Give me a second. I feel like I had a really good example to explain sometimes where it's like, well, okay, I'll give this one. This one's not as good, but maybe when I'm saying it, it'll help me remember when I was thinking, right? I could see somebody who's like 16. It's like, oh, what did he run? He ran at 100 meters. He ran at 11.2. I'm like, objectively, that's really good for that age. That's fast. That's slow to me though. I'll burn you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes. Okay. Okay. I get what you're
like,
saying. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So my perspective is, oh, I remember. Yes. So I was in a Black Clover stream completely ripping it a new asshole. It's not. I said the one thing that I like about it is that I think it goes at a breakneck pace. That shit does not slow down for any reason. It's just next thing, next thing, next thing, next thing, next thing. It goes really fast. But it was sold to me as this unique. Nobody has anti magic. Asta soul did this, did that, and I'm like, ain't no fucking way y'all was serious about this. Then I went on a whole tirade about how much it isn't unique. And I think Pale Ranger made this comment where basically said your vantage point is different because you already have collected so many different stories and manga under your belt that for somebody if this was like their 10th manga or 6th manga it would be completely novel to them. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And I literally just calm down. Like, yeah, fair enough. Like that makes
Hmm.
complete sense to me. Like my palette is diverse. I've read over 1,000 manga. I've read a bunch of comics from all different ages, time periods, different places in the world, different languages. So I've just seen a lot. So sometimes I'm just unimpressed because I may have seen this done better, or I've just seen it so many times I'm bored and tired of it. But for somebody who's literally never seen an action movie, maybe the first time they watch Fast and the Furious 8, 9, whatever fucking one they're on, they're like, this was really dope. I've never seen a film like this before. That's new to them because their point of view and baseline starting point is different than mine. So I think that it's one of those things where maybe because me and Galam could follow the story, it's not particularly complicated to us. We don't call it complex, but objectively and partially it would be.
Hmm. Interesting.
So
I think this is weird because I think like this is like the one like spectrum of like storytelling that I just never look at. Like whether something simple versus complex. Like I literally to me like I just don't like it. I don't know why.
mm.
I'm just like I feel like I don't think it does anything.
It
I don't
serves
think it
to make
helps
the
me
person
like
who understood the complex thing seem smarter. That's really what it is.
yeah I don't think it helps me understand the story, look at it in better or worse light. And it's just like I don't know, like I feel like it's a lot. It's kind of like soft versus hard, where it's like a very spectrumy thing, and I feel like everybody has their own like definition. But it's one of the weird one times I feel like in storytelling where like everybody's definition probably actually makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
because there's
Like
certain things that you can objectively say, people like you can't, but it's like there are some objective things that you can say in storytelling. But this is one of those things of like, no, some like it probably really does depend on the person.
yeah. And like I said with my original when I first started this was like their level of ability to discern and parse through information and other things like that. Like that's all gonna come into play in the factor. So,
Hmm.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I think a lot of younger people are not particularly bright or good at analyzing stuff. But I don't think they've been given a proper chance. I don't think that skill has been fostered in them in a good way. They're trying to make them obedient
Hundred
to
percent.
instruction. So
I can say this outright. I used to have really, 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 really bad reading comprehension for like a long time. Like especially when I was like in elementary school, like I used to do really bad and shit like that.
mm,
And it literally wasn't till like I think the switch happened when I was like 19, where I'm like, oh, I get it. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like I get it. Before that, I used to consume shit, not really understanding like shit. But I feel like something just switched. I don't know if like like when you reach enlightenment, everything you've seen just comes to a one singular point and it works out in your mind, like understanding like a program. I don't know. But
mm.
before that, I was like, I don't get any of this, man. I'd be in
That's
class like, what the fuck?
like, what are we doing?
I'm like, how'd you guys get that Greg like hates this person? What are y'all talking about? So when if I could do it, anybody can do it. Because I promise you, I used to be bad. I was a math and science kid. Okay,
See well, I'm not science specifically, but math. Man, I was stupid. Still am.
I was a math guy, especially growing up. Man, that was me. I was a numbers guy.
That's why I didn't like
That
math
writing
because
and reading.
I couldn't argue. I couldn't be like, I think that 2 plus 2 is 22. I can't do that. I can't. I can't debate my way out of a hole. That was my thing. I used to take some arguments and spin them in ways no one would see. They're like, hey, yo. So, and
Yeah, that was not for me.
I was also a smart aleck, as they would say. So anywho, I gotta edit some more stuff, and I'm gonna go eat, and I want to see. I don't think I'm beating chain that goes tonight. What? See if I can't get some more of my strongest weapons. I really want that the ultimate sky armor. I want it. I need it. The sky armor I got right now is so lit, but y'all be
Who's it
safe.
for?
Probably. Well, I don't actually think anyone could. I think anyone could wear it. Why you think? Why you want it for Bathars? Don't worry. Bathars has a sick one that I gave him. But right now, Glenn has the best. Glenn has the best one right
Uh,
now.
I need respect for my lizard people. Okay.
All right, man, you got it. The lesbian. Actually, his backstory was super dope. Like, he's dope though. I had to warm up there, but he's dope. All right, y'all be safe.
All right. Peace to everybody.